Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Themis and Thought. Grab your coffee, water, tea, whatever you're drinking, go and get that. Let me know if you guys can hear me well. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but there's one person. All right, that person, one other person missing. Some people are off camera, some are on. While I would prefer for it to be on camera, it's fine. We'll see how that goes throughout. Welcome everyone. Today, I, along with some of the people that I've talked to on this channel, men, are going to continue our conversation on politics. And so I'm very excited for that. I will open the panel up if there are other men in the chat who want to jump in, but the panel will stay the same, but for one or two other men who might be able to join. All right, that out of the way. Random story that I have to tell before we play the intro and start the bring the man up. Tell me why I was on Patreon at the gym and Sinji, y'all, some of y'all know her, was live, and she is out of pocket. I'm gonna explain why she's out of pocket. She said, and she was gearing up to call the welfare office, and she gonna call the welfare office to find out the methods of extraction used to remove men from their homes in the 1960s. And so she's planning to do a live stream on that, calling the office, and like whenever that is happening, I'm going to review it. I will definitely review it. Anywho, that's neither here nor there. I almost fell off the thing while I was trying to do my pull-up. So look out for that. I might interview her if she in fact starts her petition to get men back in homes, because she said she was going to do a petition. I think it's Dusty in the best ways possible. We'll see what happens. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. I just had to bring up. She said she gonna call Tuesday. All right. So welcome everyone. I so appreciate you all. Today we're going to be talking politics with men. All of them are on camera, so I will add them to the stream after I roll this intro, and let's get started in this discussion. Cool. Thank you all again for being here. I appreciate it. Hi, Prince Petty, Orange Pill, Jaren, and Jamal. How are you all?
What's going on?
Doing well.
Peace and Black Power, brothers. Peace and...
All right.
Sorry, I'm being annoying. How are you? How are you, Petty?
My throat hurts.
Wait, are you still sick?
Probably.
All right.
I have a Mike's Hard today. That's my drink of choice.
So you're not going back to the fast food restaurant to get the thing that the spicy drink?
Oh, I have some free DoorDash, so I'm gonna try it again this weekend.
Still, how are you?
I'm good. Just had, just here to give, I'm starting to come to the light, and I just from a lot of stuff.
Not come to the light. I'll get back. I'll come back to you, and I want you to explain you coming to the light in a bit.
Right.
Jamal, how are you?
I am doing all right. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'm doing well. Prince Petty, I'm sorry that you're not doing well, though. That you're not better.
He's fine. It's not like he's going to bring any less energy. Right, Petty?
Yeah, my therapist said I'm super hyper lately.
Oh, okay.
Oh, your voice is bad for real. I'm sorry. I'll try not to include you as much. I'm sorry.
Oh, I have a daily too.
All right.
Is this helping with the sickness?
No.
Your mics and your daily? Like, I feel like that's get better.
I feel like we should all be drinking, actually. Like, let's do
the daily
political opinions.
Is a daily like a seltzer?
Political opinions that only come out after a Mike's Hard or two.
I can't hear you, and I don't know if it's me, but whenever you speak, Prince Petty, I can't hear you.
Testing.
What? No, you're fine, Jared. Jared, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm ready for Labor Day.
Period.
Ready to
Any
go to the lake.
plans?
Yeah, I'm gonna take my boat out. I'm gonna hit the lake, have barbecue.
You just want to tell us you have a boat?
Oh yeah, that's
I know that was a little flex there.
All right, slight flex.
Slight
Period.
flex.
Elle has been a member for 30 months. Thank you. All right. So let's get into this. I wanted us to get engaged with politics. There were supposed to be two other people here, one of which was going to be very anti pretty much everything that I stand for politically, and then another one is more in the middle. But if they show up late, they show up late, and I'll add them. We'll add them. I wanted us to start off. How do y'all feel about this election? Orange Phil, how do you feel about the election? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I feel like, and I feel like this is going to be the final election, but not like literally, but more so like the Republicans are pulling everything they can to win this election. And if this doesn't work, there's going to be like, not a backlash, but like just like they got to reinvent themselves. Like this is going to just tear up the whole MAGA thing down. Like this is their final stand, and you can see that through a lot of things there. MAGA Republicans are trying to enact. So, but I think overall, I think it's going to be a blowout. To be honest.
Wait, what do you mean a blowout?
Like I think Kamala is going to just win like Obama 2008. I think that's what it's going to be.
All right, Jaron, what do you think about it? What are your thoughts on the election?
I think big picture, I think it's either a return to the last 30 years or so status quo from Clinton to Obama, or not.
Wait, what is not? What do you think? What happens if Trump win in your mind?
I think geopolitically or globally, I think the United States will continue to, I wouldn't say retreat, but focus more on its explicit interests and not so much in the international interests or international norms. But I think internally, I think if Kamala wins, I think the Democratic Party won't have a primary ever again, because they'll be like, we don't need primaries because we can win without them.
Really? I feel like that's disingenuous.
I don't think so. If they, I mean, elections are rewards for politicians' actions, let's say. So if the Democratic Party didn't have a primary this year, kicked out
But they
Biden.
did have a primary.
Okay. Well,
No,
I
wait,
disagree.
no. I want to because by the way, this is something that like was included constitutionally for this reason, but I've heard critique of what the Democrats did. Now, if we can prove that the Democrats thought Biden couldn't run, and we're just going to use Biden to get Kamala to do a general because Kamala is a weak candidate in a primary, but a strong candidate in a general election. If we can prove that, then I'm with you. Is that the claim you're making?
No, my claim is I don't think Biden or the Democratic Party thinks very highly of Kamala, but at the time were left with no other option. They weren't going to repeat 1968 and have an open convention because that obviously damaged their chances in that election, which was Nixon and McGovern. So they weren't going to do an open convention. They were only left with Kamala, and so they sort of got dragged into it. I think it's hard to. I think it's a bit more speculative.
All right, so if they got dragged into it, then they did have a primary. It was Biden, to the extent there was some level of a primary, but
well, not necessarily, because the only sort of corollary we could point to would be the 1968 election when Johnson just said, "I'm not running again," and they went ahead with an open convention.
All right, so
this time around, they're like, "No, we're not doing."
All
that.
right, so wait. Are you saying this is illegal or that it should be
Yeah,
challenged?
that's what I was thinking.
No, because the parties are private organizations. There's nothing illegal about it. It's more, right and wrong, ethical.
How is it wrong?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We'll see. I think if Kamala wins.
No, not we'll see. Even if she doesn't win, there's a claim being made about a moral position of the Democrat Party because the Democrat Party did something that was, in your mind, immoral. What about what happened was immoral? Because if a candidate is not capable, let's do that. Answer the question. What about what the Democrat Party did was immoral to you? You said not illegal, but immoral.
I think there's a couple things. I think Biden's mental state was obvious to people, or I can't imagine it not being obvious to people in his immediate vicinity, his cabinet members, immediate members of his administration. So on that front, I think it was unethical to unethical to hide this and not reveal this to the American people, or at least the Democratic voter, during a primary so that they can make an informed decision. Further, after Biden stepped aside, I think it was unethical to not give the Democratic voters a primary, as was done in a similar election season, which was 1968, when Johnson stepped aside. He was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
So what you're describing, though, it feels like collusion. Either we weren't smart enough, because right before the primary season, everyone wanted to know if Biden was going to run. The lack of challenge, except Marianne Williamson, there was no real challenge to Biden, and the Democrats tend to most party don't try to push aside the incumbent because of the benefit of being the incumbent. So to say there wasn't a primary feels like you're saying there was an intentional sort of collusion happening, as opposed to Biden was supposed to run. He seemed incapable of doing so, and then his running mate took over. It doesn't feel like that's what you're saying. You're saying something very different without proof, and I'm trying to understand why.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm not in the cigar-filled room, so I don't have firsthand knowledge of what exactly.
All right, so you're just making assumptions.
But to your point of, you can't just push out, the incumbent president. That's literally what just happened. What, 3 months ago, 2 months ago? They pushed him out.
He stepped down, and he stepped down because the world, including myself, said absolutely not. We are not going to vote for you because this seems odd. And then he stepped down, putting the democracy above his ego, because no one could make him not run.
No, Nancy Pelosi herself in interviews said in her discussions with President Biden that if you need to step down, or we're going to cut off all the money, and we're going to it's going to be open season on you.
He had to choose to step down. It's not like they pushed him out.
That's like saying if someone puts a gun to your head, you have a choice of doing
no, it's not. It's saying we don't think you should run for president of the United States because you don't seem capable of doing it for another 4 years. So we will not be supporting you if you continue down this path because you can't do it. And then Biden saying, all right, based on this, I have to put my ego aside and I have to look at the democracy.
No, it's not ego. I mean, I agree with you. We're describing coercion, and coercion is not, the person being coerced is not, a free agent. They are. It's either you do what we say, or else.
What do you mean it's not a free agent?
No, I'm saying
we'll come back to this. I'm going to table this, and we'll come back to it.
Let's just say we don't know exactly.
All right, what happened. We can agree to that, right?
But to your point of, it was that, and of course that only after the debate was this known. In my point,
because the people saw it and requested that
certain. I would say certain people.
No, the people, myself included, after watching that debate on my flight back to the US, I said absolutely not.
And to that, my point is that it was obvious well before that. Nothing changed except it became undeniable. And, I mean,
We
weeks
don't
prior,
know
weeks
that.
prior, weeks prior, the
I
press
don't think
secretary,
that's fair, and I don't
Karine,
think we know that. We don't have the information. I think maybe they did have the information, and I agree with you to the extent that we should have known. That is different than they knew at the time, right? So I think they should have known. I agree.
sure. But to that, it was deliberately suppressed. Suppressed is a strong word, but let's say downplayed well before that. And press
See, Jaron, this is the problem. When I asked initially, you rejected it. I said,
no, we have...
you think... No. I asked, do you think that they intentionally put him in there knowing who he was, putting the debate way in advance of any other debate that we have ever seen, so that they didn't have to primary Kamala, and that Kamala could run in a general election?
I could see. I don't know about the Kamala part, but I think the first part of them wanting to get rid of Biden and then going, what they did after that, I'm not sure. But I
mean, there's no other option really, than Kamala, unless
you
want to be.
There have been.
There would be campaign finance violation immediately.
Well, Themis, and this would be probably another things we talk about with other topics throughout the night, but history didn't start this year or the year before with Trump. This sort of thing has happened before. And when in 1968, when the Democratic Party, Johnson didn't run. He said, I'm not going to run during the primary. The Democratic Party had an open convention. It was past the primary time. They had an open convention and they chose somebody else. There's campaign finance concerns, the same sort of concerns, but they still went with it anyway.
Oh, yeah. So you were saying they should have had an open convention?
I think, or something.
Oh no, I mean,
sure.
I'm not going to debate that. I disagree that I think you would put the party in a weaker position if you had an open convention where if you're not legally required to have an open convention when the president decides not to run again after the primary term has concluded. I don't see why you would have an open convention to weaken your party's position. I would never do that.
I think that's I mean, I don't know. I could definitely see it weakening it. That's what it did in 1968, so probably. But it could strengthen. I don't know. I mean,
no,
it could.
It's not going to strengthen it. If Kamala gets the position, it would be a snake eating itself. Like it would not be a great thing. Trump cooked himself with his many irregularities. How does one uncook themselves? I'll wait. I actually think Vance made it harder for Trump, but we'll get into that in a minute. Trump has cooked the most important markers: enthusiasm and favorability. Kamala is off the charts. Trump is cooked. I wouldn't say this yet. All right. I didn't want us to go right into politics, but since we're there, I want us to step back, because one of the first questions, I was watching a debate with Dr. Umar, and I wanted to ask you all's opinion about hip hop, because the way that I think politician tries to talk to the Black community is through hip hop, right? And I had a very broad question on hip hop itself, and then we'll get back to politics and the influence of hip hop stars on voting for the Black community. Dr. Umar had a debate where he claims that hip hop was destructive to the Black community. I'll play the clip, and then we will hopefully get to discuss this. We'll get to discuss this. Sorry.
Benefit to Black people of 50 years of hip hop?
Outside of economic advancement?
What was the economic advancement of Black America because of hip hop?
It's their biggest export. Everybody in the Black community.
I'm gonna ask you again.
Yes, sir.
How did Black America benefit from 50 years of hip hop? And don't give me individual rappers. That's called tokenism and bourgeoisie.
I won't give you tokenism. I will give you
benefited as a people from hip hop.
Advancements in fashion.
How? Fashion. That's
no,
nothing.
I can't let you have that. That one I can't let you have.
We don't control fashion. What are you
anyone
talking
that's
about?
able to make money, any black person that's able to make a living in an industry,
Bro, how many is that? The labels that
it's
people
way
wear
more
is
now.
white people labels.
It's way more now
What are you-
than what was going on.
Like, but that's not a real benefit.
I would disagree.
How is Black
disagree.
America benefiting from fashion? What are we talking about?
Any advancement in fashion
How
for black
do we benefit
people
from fashion, bro?
Those same companies just came out. What was the company that came out and they're boosting up their prices for bags by like thousands of dollars?
LVMH.
Yeah, that's not beneficial to black people.
Yeah.
So
you're missing what I'm saying. If hip hop, when hip hop comes, hip hop is an entire culture. Our fashion, the way we walk, the way we talk.
How is that a benefit to Black America?
Because now people who didn't have access to jobs in the fashion, black people specifically, who didn't have access to jobs before the explosion of hip hop, 50 years ago.
White companies that make billions of dollars.
Forget the white companies. I'm talking about black-owned companies that have.
Who? How many?
Fubu, Coconut.
I'm getting out of here.
what?
Where Fubu and Coconut?
You said you're moving the goalpost. You're moving the goalpost. You're moving the goalpost. You said in 50 years. You said in 50 years.
You're reaching, bro. You're reaching.
That's not you though.
That is a reach. What?
You said in 50 years.
50 years.
What has transpired?
This ninja went back to the late 80s.
No.
This is crazy. Yes, it is.
Yes,
but,
it is.
but it's not obvious. It's not where it was before. But the advancement that those four men.
So 50 years, you had on a Fubu jacket and some Coconut.
No,
and for the billions that hip hop make, I'm supposed to be content with that.
I didn't say be content. You asked a question. I offered you.
Horrible answer. Give me something. Horrible answer.
Who decides
Horrible
war?
answer.
Who decides war?
All right. So I promise this is going to get back to politics, but I actually want y'all's opinion on this. Does anyone disagree with Dr. Umar?
No, not at all.
Go ahead,
Disagree that hip hop has had no positive impact on
let me
community,
rephrase the question then. On balance, hip hop has been more detrimental to the Black community than helpful.
Hip hop has been more negative.
I think it's been more detrimental, and definitely politically it has, for sure.
Wait, so all right, so we're all in agreement then. Hip hop has been more detrimental.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I feel like Jared just wants to disagree.
No, I'm
contrarian.
I'm not saying it's been good. I just don't think it matters, or it's the same. Like, the real detriment to the Black community is the people talking about whether hip hop is a detriment or benefit to the Black community.
Pause. Stick a pin. Jamal, you said you agreed with Jared.
It might be like if a scale of negative 100 to positive 100 of the impact and the influence that hip hop has had on the Black community. I say it's like negative 20. I think it's still a negative, but I think there are aspects and results of hip hop's influence that has been beneficial to the community that I think shouldn't be and can't be ignored. Like, there's clearly glaringly obvious things that have been negative impacts of the use of hip hop, I will say, because we can get into the weeds about it.
If you had a scale, it will lead more negative than positive.
It's still going to lean negative, yes.
All right, so we're in agreement. Patty, do you want to add anything, or you like? I'm sick and I'm in agreement.
When you say detrimental, do you mean image specifically?
The who?
Do you mean image specifically?
You said image. I thought you said Emmett, like Emmett Till. I was like,
Oh,
wow.
wow. No, that would be a very
No.
Got a dark path, dude.
It's a sort of theoretical question about whether or not hip hop, we don't know all the elements of hip hop and the impact of hip hop broadly, right? But if you had to put it together from your perspective, limited knowledge or not, when you think about what hip hop has done for and to the community, would it be more positive or more negative?
probably in that neutral.
Neutral?
Yeah.
You don't think it has caused more harm? Or would you just think it's like nothing?
Yeah, I'm gonna say neutral. Yeah.
Explain.
So we're not talking about image specifically. We're
We
talking
are.
about
You can create the calculation however you want.
I can't think of a way it would negatively impact us outside of image, and I don't know that hip hop would change anyone's opinion of the Black image or not in any meaningful way.
So you don't think if there were positive image being exported, I don't know, in Asia, that the view of Black people might be different?
They have the Cosby Show over there. Do they?
They do not. I
They
mean, they
don't have the
can, but
Cosby
they're not
Show?
going to look. It's not like our biggest export.
They have Black people in anime over in Asian countries, I'm sure.
I am not doing this game with you.
Yeah,
Bye.
the point is, I don't know that it matters if our image, if hip hop portrays us positively, negatively, or neutrally. I don't know that it has an effect
On what? The
on
view
people's
of
opinion of the Black
us.
community.
So you don't think media representation matters in terms of how people are treated?
It does, sure, but I don't know that I would consider it anything more than like negligible. Like, do you think someone would watch the Cosby Show and say, "Oh my God, the Black people are actually super nice and chill"?
That's not how media representation works. It's the repeated exposure to a very specific kind of image that over time cements what someone is in other people's mind. So if you've never experienced a Black person, what you see on TV, for example, is going to be kind of the caricature of a Black person that you have.
And you believe this has more than a negligible effect on someone's
Yes. Yes. And I also think internally we define what is quality, what is good, and how to engage, what success looks like for the Black community. I mean, I think we might differ, and I'm not going to debate this because this is not what we're talking about generally here. I just wanted your opinion. I think image matters in the expression of what is possible. And so seeing Black people as doctors more in media would probably most likely cause Black people to become more doctors, but it will definitely highlight that it is possible to be a doctor, even if it doesn't shift into you wanting to be a doctor. But
I don't know. I'm thinking about Black women's image, for example, who I would expect to be entrepreneur, educated. Do I think that that is how the world sees Black women generally, with repeated exposure? I don't know.
The people who are being exposed to it, yes, in America.
Who's been Black people? I don't know who else.
No, I think white society in America views Black women and Black men kind of differently.
I don't think so.
All right, we'll see. I don't want to fight on this point, but I think Black women see themselves differently. I think Black men see themselves differently, and also other people who consume media see people differently too. But
I think we should ask ourselves: is there any in the history of Black music in America? Is there any genre that has been said to have been a good influence on the Black community? It's always jazz.
none of
Jazz
I
was
mean,
derided and called a negative
because
influence.
it was during the time where the landscape of music was changing, and every time there is a change, people critique it, right? But gospel music would be an example of quote unquote positive change and impact. So you can't say every music. Jazz. So I would say I would posit gospel because you would be painting too broad a brush. Soul music, for example, would be another. Folk music didn't really get any meaningful pushback in terms of its positivity on a culture. And a lot of alternative music. Jazz currently is seen as a good thing, even though at the time maybe people thought it was more like how we view hip hop right now. So I mean, I think the
I agree,
promotion
but
of
why do we think hip hop will be seen any differently? And
Oh,
30
because you
years.
can look at the things being promoted in hip hop that is bad. Like, it's not like we're saying the style of music is causing promiscuity or whatever. These people, at least the people who are huge in the hip hop industry, unless we get to a place where society thinks that having unprotected sex all over, taking drugs and guns, and like, and unaliving people, and not taking care of your responsibility and treating women like objects, unless we get to a place where all of that is seen as good as a general matter, then hip hop, at least the way it exists today, will be bad. Like, it's just not good, like, in my mind.
Well, sure. I think it'll change. I mean, it's already changing, as you said. It's I forget exactly what you said. Something about change and different between periods. But I mean, jazz was, we had Reefer Madness. You recall that, with black culture and marijuana, and you go to jazz clubs. It's an awful influence on our poor white children. I think it's the same. I think it
Yeah,
comes from
but
the same thing.
we can conceptualize a world where drugs isn't seen as bad in the same way that it once was or is today. We are not gonna go to a world. I hope we don't get to a world where we're seeing unaliving people and promoting unaliving people for no reason, and gang culture is seen as a good thing.
Yeah. And to that, I guess my point is, in my opinion, I feel like music is always seen as transgressive and bad. But
Uh,
I think hip hop isn't an influence on the black community. The black community influences hip hop. Hip hop has drugs and
Oh no,
murder,
absolutely
has
not.
drugs and murder,
I don't
and
think Sexy
you
Red
know,
is the black community. I disagree with you on that.
I think she's a reflection of, not the
Absolutely not.
entire community. I mean, a
Absolutely
subset.
not.
This is a
I
Absolutely
think
reflection,
not.
it's more
Jeremy.
of a
Did you
mirror.
say?
I think hip hop's a mirror
No,
up to the black community.
So
No.
with that though, I'm curious, and I know Themis, you don't want to stay on this topic long, but I do think this is a good topic, because I do think it can effectively transition into politics, because hip hop has a huge world influence on people's political movements and activation in lots of different countries. Like the hip hop music itself comes off as very a useful tool for fighting against the machine or fighting against the power, going back to like Public Enemy. But with the point that you just made about Sexy Red and Jaren talking about hip hop being a reflection of the black community, and to me it sounds like, Themis, that you're separating the two. So if there's a separation of the two, to me it kind of feels like hip hop is no longer black people's. So is it hip hop separate then from black people, and we're just kind of having our name put on it and we have nothing to do with it?
no.
Or do we actually have control? Because you a little bit
We
earlier, you
don't have
mentioned,
control.
right? So we don't, hip hop. Based off of that, to me, it seems like hip hop is nothing. We have no internal control over it. We have it doesn't belong to us anymore. Like it's something else that has been ripped away from our community and used with our name on it, which with a variety of the different musics that you mentioned, like various art forms. Because jazz in itself, like Jaren was saying, jazz was looked down upon until it became acceptable enough to study it and play it in colleges, and now everybody likes it, and you have famous white jazz musicians, and it's kind of just something for the whole world. Kind of like AAVE is sometimes considered for the whole world, because now it's considered internet speech. So is hip hop the same way? Is it no longer ours, and has it been turned into something else that when it's the bad parts, then it's labeled on us?
What would be the good parts?
I mean, for a lot of people, the golden age of hip hop being like the 90s, a place where you have people who are becoming more politically conscious and more aware of how they want to be involved in their own communities and societies. That was an effort to work on bettering the black community.
Oh, I disagree. Oh my God, I so fundamentally disagree.
What would be the
with
good
this.
part now, though? Not
No, yeah,
nice.
I mean,
No. Wait. Before we go to now,
Okay.
Orange Bill, you get to ask the question after this, because I think it's a good question. But the hip hop, like even Tupac, right?
Mhm.
Let's draw on, what's her name? Will Smith's
Since you-
wife,
Jada Pinkett.
Jada, wrote in her book, right, about the way that Tupac, while preaching for fight against a system, was also anti-promotion of equality between men and women, and the sort of misogyny that bleeds through in hip hop, and the rejection of the truth of like women and children's experience at the hands of Black men. So while hip hop pushed back in some ways the positive against the system, it provided cover for the abuse of everyone else internally. And that has been one of my fundamental points. But we can argue that the 90s hip hop was pushing against the system, and for that it is good. But we ignore the other part of that scale where it also promoted degeneracy and ignored engagement with women and children in a meaningful way.
No, I don't disagree with that. Like, again, that's why my stance was the slightly negative, because in any case, if we're talking about the Black community, almost everything that has quote unquote been positive should be critiqued as not good, whether it's the civil rights era or talking about how it's trying to move people, but there is inherent misogyny and patriarchy. Like, nothing has been perfect coming out of our community, but it's been an attempt to try to push to make a change. I'm not saying that it's perfect at all, far from it. But it is a tool that's been useful.
I'm trying to get on balance, like it being positive, and it feels like we are conflating the political activism in one aspect as. Because let me be clear, I do include that in my analysis. It just doesn't move the scale in the right way. Like it doesn't move the scale too much in the right way, I should say.
With that, I mean, what other community do we even ask that question? We don't say, is reggaeton a poor reflection on the
because
Mexican
other communities don't use hip hop. They don't use their artist as the spokesperson for them politically.
And again, I think that's a reflection of how bad the Black community is, that we don't have, a Mark Zuckerberg, or I don't know. You can go down the list of
I mean, I don't disagree.
There's only really like entertainers, Barack Obama, and some more. Ben Carson, he's controversial, but he's a famous doctor, and so I think it's just a reflection of the problems. And
I mean, I'm not gonna. I go ahead. Wait, Black woman said choose wisely quickly. Wait, go ahead. I don't know who that was speaking.
That was me. He talked about Ben Carson, who said that Obamacare was worse than slavery.
No, that's not. No, let's not.
I mean, that
let's
one?
not do Ben Carson.
You got
yeah, don't do that.
Headshot.
All right, cool. So let's actually move forward with politics. So the idea that hip hop is front and center. Let's just broaden that from hip hop to celebrity culture and appealing to Black people for votes. I think we all think this is a bad thing, so we'll move, or maybe not the best, move. How invested are you in politics this year, and why? Let's do that with Orange Bill. How invested are you in politics this year, and why?
Oh, I'm extremely invested. And I guess I'll talk more about, like, at some point when we discussed like the transition and stuff and things were eye-opening to me, that just I was like, why did I ever believe all this stuff, or even go down this road to argue these certain points? But I will say that this has opened me up. Like, I was already politically engaged. I'm a heavy Democrat, but like I'm more engaged than ever because of the glaring misogyny that I was clearly overlooking against Kamala, from not just Black men, but all men and some women, as far as the double standard, and seeing what she brings to the table, seeing her, and also because the IVF is another thing for me, because my son was created through IVF. and that's on the line, and that's something I know we got that. We're going to talk about all that stuff later, but like that's a big centerpiece of.
Actually, I want to stay here for a second.
Okay.
You were talking about the misogyny that exists as it is aimed at Kamala.
hmm
How did you pick up on misogyny? Because I think this is a distinction. Obviously, I think you didn't really think about misogyny in this way, but not like
Yeah.
what made misogyny a thing that you pick up on now? Terrible way of asking the question, but
No, I got you. Well, I think it started with Fonnie Willis. For me, with all the Trump prosecutions started happening, and I started to see this. The Manosphere guys were starting to, one of the lawyer guys. I don't necessarily say his name on the podcast. I mean, on your on your channel, but he was calling for her to be disbarred. I'm like, she's holding him accountable. Like he's clearly guilty of fake election scheme and all this stuff, and trying to find 11,000 votes. But this is a woman doing her job and doing a damn good job at it. What is this? And then I saw a lot of either when it comes to Black women, I've noticed, especially, and it started a lot with Michelle Obama too. Either the women are this masculine thing, or like, oh, she's a man, or she's a Jezebel. So I saw a lot of that, and I'm still seeing a lot of it. I think, like I said, I think the Manosphere started to sneakily kind of turn to like the right wing politics. I started because I watch a lot of Fox News and everything else, so I started hearing things like, we need to go back to our traditional values, and they need to stop aborting our babies, our Black babies, but then y'all don't want to pay child support. Y'all think y'all should be inclined to. So I'm like, wait a minute. So a lot of things started like clicking. I'm like, wait a minute, y'all not making no sense. And that's when I took a step back, and it was like, oh, these guys just don't want a woman in charge, and think that any man that supports Kamala or Fonnie Willis or anybody else, Black women leadership, is a beta and all this stuff. I'm like, no, I'm all for her being the leader of the country. I'm not thinking about, well, she's a woman and all this stuff. So it just shocked me, and then it shouldn't have shocked me, I guess.
yeah.
And they're just blatant with it. So it's,
I think there's. I mean, congratulations for the awakening. I do like that. I think maybe Jaren has a different perspective on misogyny. Do you see misogyny in the way that Kamala is being handled politically?
No, I don't think so. I think the corollary, or the better example, would have been Hillary Clinton, because I think she had a much better resume and experience. So the only thing left was misogynistic attacks. But Kamala Harris, I just don't think she's good at all. I don't even think.
Wait, no, that's not the question. I don't care about your opinion on Kamala.
No, I don't know. To your question of whether it's about misogyny, no. With Kamala Harris,
right.
No.
So you don't think the attacks about who she's sleeping with, who she might have slept with, you don't think those stem from misogyny?
No, because the actual story it's kind of crazy, and it's sort of a California politics eyebrow raiser, I'd say.
really? What? Like what? What's the story?
She was dating Willie Brown, and while they were in a relationship, he appointed her to political positions, and this began her career. And I don't know.
Was she not qualified?
That's wrong question.
Wrong question. That's
no, continue. Tell me the story. What position did Willie Brown appoint Kamala to?
Well, the LA Times covered in the 90s. They can explain it better. I'll send you the article.
No, so wait, you don't know.
So no, I know the broad strokes. I forget.
I can't believe it. So This is so bad.
What do you mean? I can send you I know the news article. I read it, and I was like,
What
oh,
position did
that's
Willie
weird.
Brown appoint Kamala to?
I don't know. I don't remember the exact position. You got me. But
All right, we're gonna move on.
should we look at should we read the LA Times article from the 90s
It's
before?
with your friend that's a lawyer. He can't make it tonight, but we have someone else coming. All right. Cool. We'll move on. Prince
here he
Betty, do you believe that there are like sexist attack aimed at Kamala?
Yeah, I don't have a citation on hand at the moment, but I know generally when it comes to women in politics, they tend to be much more likely to receive violent threats, for example, sexual threats, of doing violent or sexual things to them, as well as like media where they alter the image to make her look nude or like she's kissing someone. Women in politics are much more likely to have something like that happen to them. So yeah, I would imagine that this doesn't escape. Kamala doesn't escape this either.
I have a question. This is a men's panel, but I want to drop the link because remember we said we would have one space where people could come up. I am kind of wanting to, because someone say echo chamber, so I want them to come up and explain themselves. But if it's not agreed, we can just move on and just leave it for men to come up.
Okay.
Nope.
Are they saying that us on the panel are an echo chamber, or
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Got
curious.
disagreements.
They were talking about how we all agree that hip hop was net neutral, for example.
Oh,
we do. Right?
We did not agree on that.
Yeah, I didn't think we agreed on that. But
All right. Anyway,
I mean,
let's move on then. Sorry, I don't know if I should drop the link, so I'm just going to move on. All right. So, Jamal, would you respond to that question of whether or not Kamala is getting sexist attacks?
I mean, I definitely believe so. I mean, I think politics, as much as it's the country's trying to be progressive, it's like one of the, I would say one of like the few bastions of like a all boys club. And for her to be as far as she is, even as vice president, is too much for some people. So from what I've seen, yeah, there's a lot of negativity and pushback. Even bringing up hip hop again, like she's going to get extra criticism for having Megan Thee Stallion, appear at one of her events. Like that in itself is, I'm looking for the word, something to critique with a misogynistic. I would say there's different lenses there, but misogyny is definitely one of the few lenses that are being used to critique her and question her capability of being the leader of the quote unquote free world. So,
there was a conversation with Trump and some journalists. I don't really care. And she's accusing Kamala of not being black. I think this is Twitter rants out of control. Why do you think this is a position he'll take and make it known? And do you think it can be effective as a means for like political discourse?
No, I don't think so. Are you asking that question to everybody?
Yeah.
I don't think it can be useful, because what I like about what Kamala's doing is, and she was just asked to basically entertain this question by Dana Bash from CNN in her interview yesterday, and she basically she literally said, Trump gonna say what he says. Next question, and Dana Bash was like, "You got no response to him basically calling out you being black, or not black or Indian." She's like, "Nope." Next question. And that's how she should treat it.
Jaron, do you think Kamala's blackness should be called into question?
No, I think it's a bad strategy. I can see why. I guess I could see why. It's hard to say. No, I think it's a bad strategy. I'm thinking of why. Maybe trying to cleave off parts of the black community who follow the ADOS sort of thinking. And I think that'd be very effective. I mean, a lot of the ADOS people are the foundation of Black Americans channels I follow. They're pretty
No.
pissed off about Kamala Harris.
Wait, what's
So,
the argument?
well, the argument is that we've already had this. Well, the argument is we already had this with Obama. Obama ran on being Black, didn't have a Black agenda. And so it's sort of the repeat is Harris is running on being Black, doesn't have a Black agenda. And then a deeper part of that is, well, Black in the United States is, your family was brought here on ships 400 years ago, and you've been here.
Wait, what should the Black agenda be? Because I worry, one of the things that I worry about is that people keep saying she doesn't want to do anything for Black people, but I don't know what the ask is. So do you know what the ask is?
Well, when she ran for Senate in California. When she won, they asked, how does it I forget, I'll pull up the video, but it was something along the lines of, how does it feel to be the first Black, or not first, winning as a Black woman? And she said, I won as an American. But when she
so she's not running, like she's like, I run as an American. What is the issue with the Black agenda? What should the Black agenda be?
Well, the big issue is that the Black American community is the absolute poorest, worst off group of Americans in the country.
What should the Black agenda be?
I don't know. But I
But
think
that's exactly what
no. See, that's the problem, though. Like,
no, the problem is that there's an immigration agenda, there's a women agenda, there's a industrial agenda.
So you want there to be a Black specific agenda?
Well, I wouldn't say I think it'd be a good
No,
idea.
you, Jaren, would you want to see a Black specific agenda, Jaren?
Yes. And I think a big part of that would be.
And you don't know what the Black agenda that you want to see should be?
I think a big part of that would be reparations. I think that's a big part. Let's start with that. But my bigger point is that there is no Black agenda.
All right. So you want reparations. Good. Do you think Trump gonna give you reparation?
No, but I think if Harris is running on being Black, but no Black
agenda. Did she say she was running on being Black?
What do you think she's running on?
Didn't she say she was running on being Black?
Okay. She's not running on.
Hold on.
She's not running on being the Black.
Can I jump in real quick?
President.
Go ahead.
Oh,
is she running as a?
What I find funny, Jaron, is that people always say the Democrats are always identity politics. When you have a person, Kamala Harris, who's clearly like Black and Indian, who doesn't bring it up at all and says run as American, but everybody keeps swearing up and down. They want us to vote for her because she's Black. They want us to vote for her, she's a woman. She's running as a Black woman. She's almost like she don't say none of that stuff, and everybody's obsessed. Well, not everybody. The FBA's ADOS and all the detractors are obsessed with her race, and she don't bring it up at all. And they constantly talk about who she is. I mean, it's like she's not
bring it up. If they said she was a white woman, I'm sure she would say something.
All right,
but she's not.
Wait. Let's do some policy then.
She's not going to correct them because she's like, okay, cool.
Let's clear up some policy question, right? On the economy, right? The Harris campaign policy proposals. Most of them were outlined at the DNC. Some of them were further outlined on their website. And they seem to be very popular, at least a lot of them are, right? So on the increasing the number of drugs eligible for Medicare and sort of price negotiation, where do you all stand on that? Are you in favor, not in favor? Is this a bad idea?
Why? What is the policy that the federal government will cover a larger proportion of prescription medications, or what is it?
Yeah, it's so that prescription drugs, a lot of them could be included under the Medicare price or eligible for Medicare. Because right now, a lot of drugs you have to pay out of pocket.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a good policy. All it does is it just makes the government pay for it. It's a sort of a bailout for the pharmaceutical industry in that they get to charge a bunch and they get paid. I think
So,
a better
but
option would be
To make people let people pay $400 a month for insulin. That's a better
no,
option.
no. I want to hear the better option.
no. I mean, I think it's fine for the person paying for it, but
Of
as a
course.
policy, which we should be looking at the long term. The long term should be, I don't know, universal healthcare, Medicare for all, single payer. This does not get us to that.
Wait, no. What's wrong with this policy specifically? Having
Because it
Medicare.
transfers your tax dollars to the pharmaceutical industry. It
So
doesn't. That's all it
go ahead.
does.
No. Go ahead.
It just transfers your money to the pharmaceutical industry. It doesn't it's not a price cap. It doesn't. They don't negotiate. It's not like the federal government's negotiating all these
So would
prescriptions.
you
They
be
cover.
in favor if there's a cap? Because there
Oh
is
yeah.
a price negotiation included in this policy.
Oh,
And
okay.
so they could cap it
Then
potentially.
okay, sure, it sounds good.
But I feel like you would be opposed to the federal government capping how much the private companies can charge for their product.
No, that sounds fine.
All right, so they could, and you would be okay with that.
Oh yeah.
All right, so you have no issues with this.
As you've described it, no, it sounds fine.
All right. How about capping the monthly cost for insulin? This was articulated by the I forgot how much. I think it was like $35. The Harris campaign indicated that they would want to do, and you are okay with capping.
Yeah, sure.
Is there anyone who is opposed to it?
No.
Wait, we don't have any free market people, enthusiasts.
Oh,
No.
Jesus.
Well, there is no. It's not a free. I mean, we're past that.
Period. The country is 71% white. In order to have Black agenda, you have to have white people on board with an idea. Black folks need to support the Black caucus who tries to get Black agenda through. Not only that, I think there is an underlying issue around conservative ideas that trashes affirmative action one and Black specific issue. The Equal Protection Clause is being weaponized by conservatives to push aside anything aimed at one specific race. So it is odd to me that the people who are arguing that, not you, Jaren, it is odd to me that the people who are arguing that the Democrats don't have a Black agenda then look to the Republicans who are actively fighting against anything with a race-specific target. Yeah, so like it feels kind of absurd to hold both positions. Like I'm not voting for Kamala because she doesn't have a Black-specific agenda, and you are going to vote for Trump or allow Trump and the conservative in who are actively fighting to not include Black progress as a thing, but more general all. The rising tide raises all boats, and we are not going to focus on individual communities in that way. I think that's an interesting discussion to have, but let's back out of the economy, and I'll bring up some more policies as we go through it. And let's get into abortion. One of the biggest challenges to the Trump campaign is their take on, I'm going to frame it as women's bodily autonomy. If you disagree with that framing, you can get to reframe it when it's at you. This is how I see it. And abortion rules. Is there any, Prince Betty, do you think this is a problem in terms of how to gain? Is Kamala using the framing of abortion rights and IVF and all of that appropriately as an attack against the Trump campaign, and do you think it will be effective?
I think she should go stronger on that. I haven't really seen her attack that much, actually. I've seen it as which is weird because I think that's the main thing she's running on. One of you, I forgot who said that she was running on being Black or something like that, but she's definitely running on your rights are being taken away, women specifically, if you're going to say she's running for a specific identity. So I think it's a little weird for her to be running on that, but for me to not really have felt a very strong push from her team on that. I'm not sure who's in charge of her campaign. So
I agree. Actually, do you think that they're dropping the ball on potential spaces for attack? Because it does feel like YouTubers, and maybe they're being paid and we don't know, that they're talking about JD Vance in the way that they need to if they want to attack him. But it doesn't feel like I'm not seeing the attack ads aimed in the very sexist way that they need to be. I'm not sure if I'm not seeing it because I'm not the target audience or it's not happening. Because I'm not seeing it.
I'm wondering if it's because she's in her infancy as far as running, since she kind of came in after Biden pretty late into the run. So I'm wondering if she's just early into it, so they've not yet developed a strategy for her. Or
with $200 million, like I feel like you can pay to make up the distance. Like so it just feels, it feels like the brat Kamala's brat, the memification of Kamala, the accessibility of Kamala, like all of the ways in which social media is addressing her and making her more accessible and likable in that way, because she was never this likable, but there is money into making her likable. It doesn't feel like there is a specific attack on the Trump campaign and particular JD Vance in the way that I thought there would have been.
I mean, my TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all of my stuff is like Gen Z. So I am definitely seeing the attacks on JD Vance and that couch or whatever was going on with him and that.
Okay, but those attacks, do you think they're coming from the Harris campaign, or is it like people independently attacking?
So is Kamala HQ? Is that her
so
team,
it
or is
seems
that
they're
someone-
invested. They might be more
I don't
invested.
know if that's a part of her team or if that's just someone who made that name on TikTok, but they're doing the work that needs to be done. She made a TikTok, but I haven't really seen her active on it, as well as Walls. I've seen him be a little more active. I'm just gonna say they're in their infancy and they're not going hard right now because they're figuring stuff out.
Jamal,
I'm gonna give them 2 weeks.
what's going to happen if they don't get it together in 2 weeks?
Well, we're about 2 months away from Election Day, so like at that point we're less than 2 months. So I'm gonna need a little bit more at that point.
Got it. Jamal.
Okay, can you ask a question again? Because I think I have a question, a follow-up question for clarity.
All right. So do you think Trump's pressure point is women?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, my perspective, that the Harris campaign has pushed that pressure point enough in the way that it should be. Do you think that is a correct assessment or not?
I sort of agree with Petty in regards to like maybe it's a little too soon, even though I know the election is right around the corner. Because I think for me, my follow-up question out of curiosity is like in regards to Democratic and Republican, is it 50-50 for women? I mean,
what?
The amount of Democrats and women. I mean,
Wait, I don't
Democrats
understand
and
the
Republican.
question.
So
more
like,
women, more people identify as Democrat leaning than Republican. More women tend to be Democrat, so it's more women who are Democrat than.
okay. So yeah, I mean, to me, I would think if that large group of Democratic voters or women are already convinced that Trump is trash, that's kind of like a pressure point that I don't need to keep harping on, even though I get it. Like it would be convincing and is a good point to make. But in that case, is it only to try to grab Republican women voters? You know what I'm saying? Because like,
well,
what would
I
be
think
the
it's the
strategic plan
middle of
behind
the
it?
road, right? Like
Okay.
the people in the middle, in some ways,
Mhm.
are the people that we want to. Hey, Wes, welcome. How are you?
Good, how you doing, Amos?
Good. I can't hear you.
You cannot hear me?
I can hear, but it's really low.
Okay, let me work on that.
All right. All right. Go ahead, Jamal.
Oh no, you were responding. You were giving me some clarity on, I guess, trying to grab, I guess, the voters, the independent
In the
voters,
middle.
or
Sorry,
the
I thought I
moderate.
said it.
Yeah,
People in the middle. Like you're not gonna convince a Trump supporter to not vote Trump.
right.
So it's the people who are in the middle who are undecided, which I find to be a very strange position to be in. And prior to this year, I didn't believe that they were like, when it comes to Trump specifically, when people say they are undecided, I think they're playing games. But I've actually spoken to people who are like saying they don't know who to vote for. And for me, like, honestly, that feels weird. It feels like you're ill-informed and not attached. Even if you're going to vote for Trump, it's not that it's fine, but it's just weird to not know who you're going to vote for.
Gotcha.
It feels like a game. Like, it feels like these people want to be pandered to, and so they
No, I
pretend like
think
they don't know.
no, I disagree. I think the people who feel that
No,
way
no,
are
no.
very.
I'm not saying I agree with that. This is what I
Oh.
used to think. I don't anymore. Sorry, I don't anymore.
Yeah. But I guess to answer your question again, I think that is that subject of women's rights, because we're putting it generally, right? So not just specific things, but all women's rights. It should be pushed on more, but I definitely think maybe that'll come harder. Even though we are close to the election, I feel like it seems that Kamala Harris and her team are trying to get like a good sure footing before they ferociously attack on certain things. Even appealing to those who are in the middle to kind of reassure that, hey, I am a competent person that can be a good leader, and I don't want you to think I'm maybe potentially pandering to a particular group. You know,
But you do think people think Kamala is not competent? Because I don't believe people who say that.
I'm just, that if we're talking about like attack ads, that's the attack from the other side. So if you're people in the middle might be like, well, I'm trying to listen to what Kamala is saying, I'm hearing what Trump is saying, and one of their strongest, from what I've heard, one of their strongest thing is she's not competent, she's not capable of doing whatever. So if it's enough to reassure you, it's like, hey, I'm actually a viable candidate in this fight for a leadership of our nation, let me reassure you of that first before I go really strong on certain hot button
But
issues.
that's the issue though. Like, how you reassure people of that is not by telling them, it's by showing up, right?
Mhm.
So you have to ace your speeches, you have to ace your interviews, you have to ace your debates. And to that point, Kamala is not giving interviews. And do you think this is a good or bad thing? Let's start there. Do you think this is a good or bad thing that she's not doing interviews?
Were
Go
you
ahead,
asking?
sorry, Jen.
Yeah, it's general.
No, I think it's bad. I think it's bad. I think at this rate, her high point will be at the end of the DNC convention, or the Democratic convention. If she's not, I mean, there's 2 months to election day. It seems pretty low energy so far. Like, I feel like I'd be out interviewing everybody on the
She did
trail.
an interview the other day, but generally, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Sorry.
generally. Like, I mean, she's not like old like Biden either. So, I mean, she should be up. Like, are you in it to win it? Like, she should be everywhere on all the screens. There should be clips of all these interviews, all this stuff. But I think similar to Biden, I think they're afraid, or her campaign staff or whoever's calling the shots is afraid, and also feels like we can only go down. None of this is going to help us, so we're just not going to do it. And I don't know. I think it's a bad strategy. I think Biden only survived doing that in 2020 because of COVID, but now I don't think it's a good strategy.
The VP's resume is unmatched. Period. anyone else has a different take?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
Go ahead, Wes.
Okay. Can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I think that the number of interviews that, and I don't know if you addressed this yet, Themis, but I want us to level set here. So her name is Kamala.
Period.
And I know that sometimes it is not intentional. Some people don't know. But I think if we're going to have a men's panel, the very least that we can do across the board is pronounce the vice president's name correctly. So yeah, I think that that Vice President Harris is like the number of interviews she does or doesn't do shouldn't matter. But I think that like Donald Trump what he's done is really changed the way that American politics is played in a way that, in my estimation, is to the detriment of this country. So, for example, right, we're asking about like, and I'm not putting this on you, Themis. I know that this is all over the media, right? Like she's being scrutinized, like, oh, like she hasn't done all these interviews. What is she doing? Well, first of all, she just became the Democratic nominee officially a few weeks ago. Before that, she as like the week after she named Governor Walz as her running mate, they did a back-to-back like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, like she's not just sitting around, right? Like she's not just sitting around not doing anything. And so like her strategy right now has been to talk to the American people and to have rallies and to she did just do an interview with CNN with Dana Bash. I know you guys talked about that.
Yeah.
But I just think that it kind of misses the point. And so I think what Donald Trump has done is to normalize this idea that like, oh, like you know, a candidate should be doing 20 interviews because Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is just talking nonsense. He is not a serious candidate. He's not a serious person. And so when he goes and he's talking and quote unquote interviewing, he's just rambling. And so from my perspective, Kamala Harris is deciding not to go and just ramble, but instead to be a measured candidate and a serious candidate. And it's not about the number of interviews that she's engaging in. It's what is her campaign doing? I think it was last week or maybe it was this week. She was on the ground in southern Georgia talking to high school students, talking to voters, and getting out the vote. And so that may very well be a better strategy for her than sitting down and just talking to screen.
Gotcha. Joe, do you have a quick thought?
No, I was going to disagree. I think in a lot of the discourse about the current Democratic Party is hamstrung by always having to refer to Trump as if nothing has existed before. Like Obama ran not that long ago. Do you think he was hiding? Do you think he wasn't doing interviews? Do you think he wasn't campaigning? No. So why are we excusing Kamala Harris from being afraid to do interviews, afraid to let
Why are you using the word afraid?
What else would we call it?
Not doing it does not make you afraid to do the thing.
Okay. So let's say, I don't know, apprehensive.
I mean, she did an interview last night, but there's not a lot. Would you, if the, well, let me let Wes go respond to that.
I just think it's hilarious that let me just I'm trying to be respectful on this channel, and I will be respectful. I think you asked Themis a question earlier about like misogyny and whether this is playing out in this election, and I to say that she is afraid or she's scared of interviews is like borderline misogynistic. Like, why are you jumping directly to she's scared and afraid of interviewing? I just don't understand that.
So she's not. Her campaign is. Does that make you feel better? Her campaign is. Is that better?
Again. again.
Can I add more to Wes's point about the whole double standard? So even when she was getting ready to sit down for the interview that everybody, all the media, have been drooling over and just please sit down with one of us, please. They were complaining that she's got to sit down with her candidate, like she can't just do one by herself. What's that about? Even though there's been what Trump and what's his name, JP Mandel, whatever Trump called him. They sat down for an interview with media, and Obama and Biden sat down. All presidents have sat down with their vice president or vice presidential candidate, but for some reason with Kamala, Kamala, it's a different standard. And why is that? She's the only one that can't sit down. So yeah, to your point, Wes. What's a different standard?
You're saying
what's the difference? Like Trump just sat down with JD Vance for an interview, but when Kamala does it, she can't do one by herself. They do the whole afraid thing.
No,
so what's that about?
No, I agree. That was a bad line, or that's probably let's call that misogyny.
I mean, you're good, but it was. We just have to call those things out when we're talking amongst ourselves. And I think the other thing that we are not really focused on here is the fact this is a very truncated election when it comes to Kamala Harris, right? Like what is this? Almost September. So she literally became the in June of 2024, we would not be having this conversation. So to compare the amount of interviews that she is doing compared to anyone, Bush, Obama, Trump, whoever, it misses the mark. And she's going to do as many interviews as she can without compromising other strategies in other ways that she needs to be campaigning in this very critical and crucial time leading up to November. And to add to that, before November, right? I mean, people are going to start mailing in ballots very soon. So maybe her campaign or them combined thought that the best use of their time, again, isn't sitting in front of, you name it, CNN, Fox, ABC, and instead it's better use of their time because, again, we have a few months, not a year, not 10 months. So, I mean, I think we need to really take that into account before we assume that the reason why she is not doing interviews is merely because she is afraid, right? That's pretty reductive.
Well, the other bad word would be she's incompetent, right? Or not her campaign. But when you look at the polls, the only states that really matter are the battleground states: Michigan, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, but
Nevada,
even the notion though. Wait,
very
sorry.
close.
I feel like I don't understand why we do this, and I send some of it from you, Jaron. But as a sort of general matter, when it comes to Kamala's credential, it feels odd to even question it in any meaningful way if we're comparing that to Trump. When we talk about incompetence or ability to articulate themselves or be thoughtful in any way, it feels like we mark Trump on a curve and then we're expecting Kamala to be perfect. And Trump does not compare intellectually in any meaningful way from any evidence that we have to Kamala, at all. At all.
I mean, no, I get it. I think, he talks bad, all that stuff, but you can't say, you can't have won the Republican primary in 2015, 2016 and not have some stuff going on in your head.
I mean, if it
Freddie
is going on in
Whitefield
his head, we don't
underdog.
know that. We have no evidence of Trump ever putting together a productive speech whereby he doesn't fumble over himself, he doesn't ramble on and on, mispronounce pretty much every other word, like incoherent babble. And we don't use that to critique him in the same way that we are questioning Kamala's ability to lead.
Well, I think it comes from Trump is bad, blah blah blah. But Trump won the primary, won the election, lost the next one, right? But that's something. Kamala got
it is
blown out.
something. So did
Kamala got
Bush,
blown
but
out.
we all know Bush wasn't the brightest.
Famous. To Jaren's point, I don't know, Famous, if you've played this for people, if you guys have seen this, but apparently Donald Trump back in the day, I think it was maybe early 2000s, someone asked him like, would you ever run for president? And he was like, probably not, but if I did run, I would run as a Republican because the party is pretty dumb.
Oh yeah.
So like to your point, Jaren, I don't think that the fact that he has won the Republican nomination and is getting backings from Republicans is any kind of measure of this man's, strength as this political powerhouse.
I've seen that quote.
He would die as a candidate in the Democratic Party.
I think
I do have a question. Wait, 1 second. Wait, 1 second. I've seen that quote, but I have to say, was that verified that he actually said it?
Which quote?
That if he ran, he would run as a Republican because they're idiots. Not.
We can do a fact check.
All right. She needs to be everywhere. Awareness is about being visible. She needs to be as annoying as Grant Cardone and those. No, the thing is, as a strategic matter, if her polls go down, she will start popping up more. I'm assuming that her team is saying, wait, the media and everything is having a life of its own. Should I disrupt that? No, then I don't have to.
Well,
and I don't know if they're making that calculus, if it's appropriate or not, but it's working. Go ahead, Jared.
I think by the time that would happen, it'd be too late. There's only 2 months left.
Yeah, but they're polling, the polls are coming out every day. Like, I stopped tracking the polling because it keeps updating literally every day.
From the last 2 Trump elections, Trump has overperformed his polls and his opponent has underperformed their polls. And if, let's say, in Nevada, Trump is up half a point. I mean,
no. In the election with Hillary was destroying him in the polls, and she did not win. I mean, she won.
I think that's his point, though, right?
That's my point. Hillary underperformed her polls and Trump overperformed.
Yeah.
No, I do agree with that. That is a fact.
I'm saying if we went down the battlegrounds, Arizona, Trump's up half a point.
So that's what I'm saying, though. The question is, how much do you want to engage and change the momentum, right? Mm-hmm. Do you want to take the chance on going out there and talking now, or do you want to wait for it to get closer to the election? I don't know necessarily what's the right position. She just did an interview last night. So the people are saying, okay, maybe we need to go out now. Is she going to use the debate to push herself forward? Because if Trump wins that debate with Kamala, that would be weird, right? But I'm assuming they're trying to hold their cards as close to them as possible for the debate.
Well, I think
let me be clear. If I was Trump, I'm not doing the debate.
Well, I think all Trump has to do is not seem crazy. He did terrible during the Biden debate, but he just seemed not
more
crazy,
reasonable,
right? Because they muted his mic and he was, there's no applause and stuff. So that's all he has to do is just temper.
Yeah, but that's marking him on the curve that I was talking about initially, where it seems like what we have done is we've made Kamala or anyone running against Trump, the center of the conversation to be critiqued, while Trump is exempt from the kinds of critique about his intellect, capacity to lead. Like all of that gets brushed over when it comes to Trump, and we go harder on the description and the conversation around Kamala, which I find weird because I don't think they're intellectually in the same boat. So whenever someone brings up Kamala's competency, like all I hear is you're an idiot. I don't want to talk to you. Let's move on.
I think that is a good point to focus on. Could you bring up the last the last quote that you put up, the one before ultimate enigma? You just had another one up there that was talking about Kamala needing to be everywhere.
Oh, it's gone. Let me try to.
Oh, it's gone forever.
No,
Well,
not forever, but I can
yeah.
find it if I can go back in now.
Well, my general point is, I think that sentiment.
But before you do, Madam President can be paint her nails from the Oval Office daily. She has earned her spot in history in my book, Representation Matters. Thank you, Ultimate Enigma. There you go. Found it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. So the idea of like she needs to be everywhere. I think part of the reason Trump gets the curve is because he's not a typical politician. And I think that's what puts this whole election, even the previous one, that the one that he lost and the one that he won, made it so strange. Because to me, it seems like our political atmosphere has become, which is really the atmosphere of everything in our country, it seems, based off of celebrity. And if you don't lean into it very aggressively, it's sad, but it is possible that you can lose. Because I think those issues of policy or intellect or competence, all those things get pushed to the side when people are more interested in, well, how do you best represent us? How do you make me feel, rather than, can I really trust you to run? And I think that's the danger of where we are, where you have people in the middle who are more interested in, well, how popular are you, rather than what can you actually do for me? And I think that's what a lot of people fear in this upcoming election, is that Trump is going to lean on his celebrityism to win again.
I mean, but that's kind of what, like, the political stage is a theater, in that, like, the debates aren't substantive in terms of policy. It's like you have a minute, you have 30 seconds to respond. That does not allow for any meaningful analysis of, like, policy. And so it feels like this is ultimately about entertainment. However, there's someone in the comment called His Ghetto Point of View. His Ghetto Point of View. There is a link at the top if you want to come up to share your opinion. Please feel free to click that link. I'm assuming you're a man because of what your name. So please do that. No need to sit down. It needs to be on the trail so that she can be campaign trail, so she can be seen as a real person. Touching someone is different. She is like a mythical, sacred creature to MAGA types. It is working. It is working because there's nothing new to attack her on. I think the reverse of that I'm the only issue that I have is I am not knowing if she is not doing it because she doesn't want to do it because of how this create this mythical being, like you pointed out, or if she's afraid that she will disabuse us of the notion that she is like the fun Kamala that Kamala's brat promotes on Twitter. I don't know, and I would like to know that, but I'm not going to fault her for that. Kamala doesn't need to be everywhere because Trump's team is making her name and everyone's lip with the misogynistic and racist tantrum. He is her best peer, exactly why she doesn't need to even address him. Yes, I think that's the calculation being made by the team. And she doesn't have to defend herself, which forces everyone to defend her.
Well, Themis, to the point of Kamala being everywhere like that, being everywhere. I like that she's going into rural parts where maybe Democrats were like, we're going to stick to the cities, rural's going to vote rural, but she's like, no, we're going to invest in rural parts of Georgia, where there are black people or minorities there that you want to get out to vote. And you can see that, you can feel it also in certain states where like Texas and Florida, where Trump and Republicans are feeling the pressure of a blue wave. So you got the Attorney General Kim Paxton of Florida, who just a couple days ago, who there was this Latino vote organization just promoting people to register vote, not register vote Republican or Democrat. He did like a raid on some of their participants' houses, looking for voter fraud and all this stuff. So I think you can already tell, and you got a lot of stuff changing in the Georgia election board with Republicans, and you got stuff going on in Nebraska where they're trying to not allow 225,000 people really register to vote. So Republicans are feeling that pressure of a blue wave coming because of the amount of people that have registered to vote in this upcoming election. And I think what Kamala's doing is working, like you were saying, that sit down interview thing. Like, it's mostly the news media that is making this story about, like, oh, she's got to sit down with us so we can because the American people are telling us that all these questions need to be answered, but it's really all them. They want attention. That's why a lot of them were mad, because at the DNC there was a lot of influencers, YouTube influencers or media influencers that were starting to have a seat at the table and kind of have their own places to be at the convention, and a lot of the media was mad about it. Like, oh, all these influencers here. So there is a new thing coming, and I think Kamala's picked up on it.
Yeah, I think the utilization of social media is in this way is good. Did you all hear JD Vance's statement on women?
Yeah.
Which one?
Which one? Yeah, which one?
Wait, Trump is scared and throwing everything to the kitchen. Why? Because he is facing jail time if he don't win. He is facing jail time if he does not win. Kamala is the sitting VP, powerful human in the world, number 2 most powerful human in the world. She's working 2 jobs and getting paid for 1. Black women engaging in double duty, making it look effortless. Meyer says, he may not be a typical politician, but he's applying for the job to be the most powerful politician in the world. He needs to be held to the standard of the job he's applying for. No curve, period. I agree. And I think we need to mark them on the same level, or don't mark them at all. That is ridiculous. Doesn't matter whether she's black, she's competent compared to the unhinged lunatic on the other side. Full stop. Americans need to be very clear. All right. Let's get to JD Vance. Is JD Vance
weird?
No, I was trying. Because I keep wanting to say JP, but is JD Vance is JD Vance a problem for Trump?
Absolutely.
I don't think so.
Wait, what?
I don't think he's a problem for Trump's base.
Yeah.
But for expanding Trump's reach to voters outside of his base, he either is a problem or it just neutralizes. He's not very
doubles down, I guess.
A neutral VP pick is not bad. It's kind of good. But a VP pick that causes harm to your campaign and likability is a problem. We just talked, Jaren, about the world kind of being a stage for the politicians to perform, and that he's not a politician and thus he's marked differently. And his charisma is what gets him where he needs to go, right? With Pence was just like nothing, right? Like, Pence could be ignored, and it didn't harm or hurt. My assessment is that Vance hurts him, particularly around women who are in the middle. You are saying, do you agree with this assessment?
I think it hurts him with single women, definitely. But I think his pick, I think the J.D. Vance pick was more for internal Republican politics, and that it sort of shows, and particularly with the roster or lineup at the Republican convention, that the Republican Party is more under Trump's thumb, or not even Trump's, but the sort of populist right thumb.
Yeah,
So I
but
think
it feels like Trump is regretting his pick. Because when they asked, they said, do you think he's hurting you? And what are your thoughts? And he gave some convoluted answer, but ultimately stated that, well, the vice president pick doesn't matter. Like, he won't matter. And they asked, do you think he could be the president? And Trump is like, that doesn't matter. Like, I picked him
think
because he liked me.
no, I think he's trying to keep the focus on him. I think it's more of a.
Yeah, but he doesn't. The way he spoke about Pence, for example, was that Pence could be president, right? And he spoke very highly of Pence. When it comes to Vance, he just pretty much dismissed it. There's a very big difference in the way that Trump speaks of Pence versus the way Trump speaks of Vance. It looks like Trump is fully aware that Vance is not likable.
I don't think so. I think Vance plays. Well, I think currently and will continue to progress in the future that more and more single young men will be Republicans and more single young women will be Democrats. And J.D. Vance, I think, and even Waltz too, is an attempt to pick up single men in the Midwest. And so I think that's all J.D. Vance pick was. So women isn't really a calculus, or at least single.
Yeah, no. I agree that Vance was a pick to get white men in particular, in a very specific area. What Trump and them apparently didn't realize is how harsh it would seem for women. And him, like, even Trump's response to what Vance said, right? Trump's response verbatim is, I don't know that he said that, and I'm sure he didn't mean that. The thing Vance said was that if you don't have children, you should have less of a voice, a voting voice. Trump not knowing that is wild. Trump not knowing how to respond to that is even more chaotic, and that is a problem.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I think Trump won in 2016 on white men in the Midwest. So it's not, that's the bread and butter. He lost in 2020 because of white men in the Midwest. So
no, he won too because white women showed up and voted.
White women, yes, exactly.
Yeah, they, yeah. Like 2016, what happened was that white women in large number did not admit in polling and just pre-election that they were voting for Trump, and then just came out the woodworks and just voted for him in like sheer crazy numbers.
Yeah, 58%.
Yeah. But what, just to back up a little bit, I don't know if I do know. I do not agree with the assessment that J.D. Vance helps Trump's ticket in terms of like bringing in middle-aged white men, or like single white men, or however you want to categorize them, because Trump already has white men. That's his main base. So I really honestly don't know if he helps Trump out very much at all. And he probably would have been better off picking like a Nikki Haley or I don't know, so anyone else really, even someone more like Pence, right? Because even though Pence is a white male with white hair, he's older. He gives off a more mature, like grounded energy. And so to your point, to your original question, Themis, J.D. Vance may actually hurt Trump at the end of the day, because he doesn't add anything. And if anything, the folks who were going, like the people who were voting for Trump and felt comfortable voting for Trump because Pence was that like stop gap there, that no longer exists.
Why don't you want to admit, Jaron, that at least in polling and likability, that JD hurts Trump? I thought that was pretty well known. Even Trump campaign
No, I
have
think
admitted
nationally,
as
I
much.
think for women in, I don't know, Georgia or New York or something, that it hurts him or it hurts his chances. But in places like Michigan, or as the polling shows, it hasn't made a difference. So I don't know. That's what I'm
It
going on.
has people polling on Vance says that he is one of the most unlikely, unlikable VP
Sure,
person
but
running in
Harris,
history.
when Harris
In
was VP, she was the worst rated VP.
Yeah,
so-
no, but that is true. But now she's rated higher than Trump as she won for president. Vance is literally the worst. Like you have to own. You don't have to here, but you have to own that this is one of the most disliked politicians currently, and his ratings are so low that it's like weird that he's even on the ticket, because you would think Trump wants someone to bolster them. But to that point, Petty, how do you engage with the fact that Pence has disavowed Trump, has essentially said Trump is a scumbag that who he doesn't want anything to do with. He will not promote him. He will not endorse him. But this was his VP. When your vice president is saying absolutely not, you are bad for the country. You should not be president. How do you rationalize it? How do you think about that, if at all?
I almost made a video, and it was something like what happened to real Republicans, where we were going to talk about the old days. I don't believe Republicans were ever good generally, or conservative were ever good generally, as far as like racism, sexism, and trying to conserve traditional values that tend to not be good for minorities, LGBT women, or Black people. But I don't know. There used to be more decorum. People are bringing up old clips of Mitt Romney. People are even now. So this was very brief and it didn't go anywhere. But people were trying to bastardize Pence as like some noble Republican, like he wasn't fighting against abortion during his vice presidency, etc. But it kind of makes me think about the old Republican versus the new Republican. Someone on the panel said that Trump has sort of revolutionized politics, and it is much more aggro. It's very loud. It's kind of ghetto. It's a lot going on, and Pence is not that. Whatever type of politics that Trump is and Trump brings about, Pence is not that. Pence doesn't give like MAGA, red hat wearing people showing up to the poll being loud and ghetto and ratchet. So I feel like he's an old style Republican, just like Romney has disavowed this new age of conservative politics where it's not really conservatism, it's more like Trump loyalty. So, and he probably didn't like them people trying to hang him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would agree. I think picking Vance was a rejection of that old like neo-conservatism. George W. Bush, Ronald Reagan. It's a rejection. They're on a new path.
Yeah,
populist,
and
right.
apparently Trump going to drag the Republican Party with them, whether or not they want to go, because he has the populace. The question then is, I actually do have a policy question. Does anyone reject the Harrison sort of tax credit proposal?
Like the child
tax credit, yeah.
I think it's fine. No. I don't think it's going to solve anything, but it sounds nice.
Cut child poverty by half. Did they do that?
Well, people aren't having children, so it's not like it's not like she pushed the child tax credit and all this stuff so people can build families. Or in her interview yesterday with CNN, She was like, "Oh, we want to do first-time home buyer benefits and child tax credit so that people can start their lives,
Yeah, there
make
was
families."
there was the providing the $25,000 in down payment for assistance for first time home buyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, first
But
generation, not immigrants.
yeah, and that's also an issue. Like people are talking about how immigrants. Anyway, I'm not getting there yet.
Yeah.
That's how Jaren's opened, so I believe that. Her policies are favored by the American people. So is the issue that American people don't know her policy? Because like it feels like her policies around the child tax credit, around first time home buyers, uh, insulin for we opened with that. Even the effort to like invest in the local efforts to the housing shortage to build more housing. I feel like those policies aren't spoken about. The infrastructure deal, none of it is like the people who are talking online don't talk about like the economic policy, foreign policy, like none of it. And I'm trying to figure out why. Is it that it's just boring and no one cares?
It might be someone brought up earlier, how come every time we talk about Democrats, Kamala or whoever, there's always a comparison to Trump as opposed to looking at her objectively or something like that. I think it might have been Jaren, but maybe people are euphoric that we have an option other than abortion is going back to the states and I'm going to make Mexico build a wall and pay for
But
it
she
or
said,
something.
but in her interview, she said she supports building a wall. She supports more money for a border barrier with
Yeah,
Mexico.
but that's
Yeah,
not her
he
only
said more
platform.
than.
That's not her only platform. And maybe people are voting for her not for specific policy, but because they want to avoid an alternative.
Well, no,
So
I
maybe
agree. I think
they don't care what is she doing for Ukraine or what is she going to do overseas, or maybe they don't care about that. Maybe there's an immediate need they feel for even something like abortion rights, for example, which I think most people support, men, women, conservative and liberal. So maybe people aren't even thinking that far ahead because something so immediately dangerous they feel is being threatened.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I think that's it. I think that is not. I think a lot of people feel. I hope a lot of people feel as though this is not politics as usual. And the DNC, like there are several Republican politicians who came and spoke about that, right? Country before party. And I think a lot of people are realizing, again, I hope a lot of people are realizing that this is not your norm. Thought I heard something. This is not your normal, like, this is not 1992, right?
It's not, but Roe v. Wade was 1972 and now it's 2024, 50 something years later, and that's what we're voting on. So
yeah, but
No, I'm agreeing with you, Petty.
But
I'm
Roe
not
is
disagreeing.
but there,
yeah.
she's not gonna.
No,
She's
no,
not gonna.
Petty's being petty.
I'm just saying when people are talking about, okay, yeah, we're gonna get a child tax credit, but is that really going to incentivize people? What are y'all talking about? Roe v. Wade was 50 something years ago and now it's 2024 and we're fighting for it again. I feel like there's a certain hierarchy, and to be nitpicky on specific policy doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the fact that, like, I mean, we have a man who may very well become president for a second time, who has handpicked 3 Supreme Court justices on the highest court in the land who are essentially doing his bidding, like, who essentially have said the president can get away with, whatever he wants to get away with. He can literally commit crimes.
I mean, I'm not going to correct that statement, but I don't agree with that statement.
It's like Obama, drone striked American citizens. He can't be prosecuted for that.
Wait. There's a question about official versus unofficial duties and constitutional powers, but I'm with you, Wes, partially. The next step, though, and I love the Supreme Court thing brought up. We have some very old people on the Supreme Court who are conservative. I do not want Trump to have the power to replace them.
Yeah, no, I mean the Supreme Court thing was just like one of many. It's the Supreme Court. We can dive deep into the Supreme Court, and that's fine. But my point is that he is a threat to democracy. I mean, people can say that is exaggeration or whatever. I mean, he literally said day one, or excuse me, I would like to be a dictator for one day. I mean, that's you don't joke about stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's really scary. So to Petty's point, that like maybe this election is people waking up and saying maybe after this election we can go back to politics as normal. To the extent that he is actually a threat to democracy, we need to shut that down.
Yeah, well, the powers that be want it to go back to normal. They want it to go back to, I don't know, wars, selling out the country. Like, I mean, that's the election is Kamala Harris.
I feel
Kamala,
like
Kamala. Comma, like a comma in a sentence, la. Thank you. And if you continue to call her out of her name, I'm just going to assume that's because you just don't respect women.
I just don't. I've never met her. She's never told me her name.
You said you're very active, right? You said you're very engaged. You said you're very engaged. You said you're very engaged, right? There have been multiple times where she has said, "My name is Kamala."
I've only said it 10 times in my life.
Stop mispronouncing it. It's very easy to not do that.
Okay.
Stop.
Please don't tell her. Please don't tell her I did that. Okay.
Jeremy, you sound like Nancy Mason.
Anyways, so Kamala.
Thank you very much for having decency and respect on this panel. Thank you.
Who cares? It's just she represents the.
Who cares? Who cares? Who cares about the name of the Vice President of the United States? Wow. Who cares? Wow. You're really making black men look like shit right now.
Yeah, but he's from the South, so the literacy rate down there, is different. They don't really
No.
They don't care about pronouncing things.
No, let's stop. Y'all play entirely too much.
It's like we can make fun of why do we take our politicians so seriously? Like we say all sorts of stuff about Trump. Like what is his reverence? You're like,
we don't take that literacy rate seriously. I know what the South is not taking seriously, and it's that literacy rate.
Sir, it's not about politics. All due respect to you, bro. It's about respecting. It's about respect. Like end of the day, it's about respect, bro. That's it.
Or literacy. It can be about both of those things, or one of the other.
All right, sorry, Themis. I'm gonna let it go.
Compare education, Petty.
Yeah, of course. I work in the medical field.
You're a doctor, or you work in the medical field?
I'm actually a janitor at the hospital.
Oh my god!
Like,
isn't it housekeeping? It's not janitor. It's housekeeping.
Politically, we are arguably missing our best opportunity as a community to ask for reform support, because as with everything, we are divided and arguing sides. True. He's definitely not a problem for me. He don't know it, but he on Kamala's side. Hell boy of Trump. Period. Kamala better drag him. You notice Trump action and words get grace and Kamala's does not. This is how you know you're talking to a MAGA Trump supporter. Jaren, are you a Trump supporter? Do you mind me asking?
No, I wouldn't say that, but I support Trump more than Kamala, I'd say.
So you're going to vote for Trump?
RFK.
No. I never.
You're not voting for Trump?
No.
This is the most civil discussion I've seen from the men-only panel on TNT. I think you said 32 months. I appreciate that. I think you said that before. Thank you, the architect. I was looking forward to a very peaceful convo. Nick Cannon about to vote. I'm here for West gathering the girls. and that is misogynist BSU denied. But I bet you can see. So
Go watch it.
no. The idea of not being able to see something like misogyny or racism actually highlights I think about the existence of it in the way that it's being described, but I'm going to get into that in a video that I'm planning to make, so I'm going to leave that alone. Motion to start calling Jaren. No.
People mess up their name every day.
No.
Not a big deal.
So, Jaren, you're on your own, it seems. And so I've brought help for you. We're going to respond to this video.
Can I say something real quick, Themis?
Oh, yeah. Everyone can get their thoughts out, and then we go to this video.
Okay. It's just about Jaren. I understand, like, as a person that has my name mispronounced a lot, like, it really does matter. Like, it is important. Like, your name is something that you're called all the time, and it is very, very disrespectful. And especially for Vice President Harris, this woman who has done phenomenal things for us in general, the nation overall, to continue to disrespect her is a whole other level. So,
No,
I mean,
well,
I think,
like, if someone mispronounces your name, you don't think they're doing it intentionally, because they usually aren't.
I think it's
no,
the point that
It's the response. It's the response. It's
it's
not.
It's like Vivek Ramaswamy. Like, I mess that up all the time, or Vivek, whatever. Like,
it's the response. You know, I mean, yes, I agree with you.
I think it's just like
agree.
it's very lame to take that seriously when.
No. But like, here's the thing, right? I don't have to meet her to know that she's made public statements about how to pronounce her name. I don't have to meet her to know that in the DNC, her literally, I think her nieces, and Kerry Washington had a whole stand up about how to pronounce her name. So I'm not coming at you because you are mispronouncing her name, period. I am coming at you, and I think people on the panel are correctly correcting you because of your response. If your response is, okay, you know what? I made a mistake. I got it. That's one thing. It's a completely different thing to say, who cares what her name is? To say, I'm gonna say her name however I want to. That is the issue.
That's not what I said.
You said, well,
take it easy. That's it.
You said, I don't know her. Why are we taking this so seriously? So to me, that translates to, I'm going to call her whatever I want to.
Well, that's in your head. All I'm saying is people make mistakes. It's not a big deal.
Again, you are deflecting, and you are not taking on directly what
deflection. You're directly saying you're doing this intentionally. You're trying to no.
Nope. Not what I said. I said that it is not the issue that you mispronounce her name. So for you to respond and say people make mistakes is not addressing my issue. My issue is not that you made a mistake. My issue is that after you make the mistake and you are being corrected, you are now making the same mispronunciation, which at this point, when people show me who they are, I believe them, and you are showing me that you are being disrespectful.
To who?
That!
If she was here, that would be disrespectful.
All right, man. All right. I have nothing else to say because you just at this point.
It's just a mistake.
Just to piggyback off of Wes, the way Jaren reacted is the way that I don't know if everybody saw that huge when I brought up Nancy Mace when she was on CNN, and she was literally intentionally saying her name wrong, and the whole panel, black, white, whatever, were like, "That's not how you say it." Well, I'm gonna say it the way I want to, and all this stuff, and then you also have to understand that people say her name in a certain way who don't like her with a racial undertone under it, to try to make it sound more ethnic and more, just really put a lot of emphasis on the Mala part and all this stuff, just to create some racial undertone like they did with Barack's name. So there's all that history under there as well. And also this video we're about to watch gave me a headache.
Yeah.
Just side.
Hi, Prince Petty. Haven't seen you in a while.
Hi.
But Themis don't want the men to go to therapy. I do want men to go to therapy.
That's disrespectful. That's so
Well, as long as you're
disgusting.
not in the
Wait,
room.
That's
no.
so
All right,
disgusting.
Jaren, wait, let's stop
I
then.
can't take it anymore.
So,
It's Jaren.
Jaren, you're curious.
Who said if Orange Pill gets it, then I don't know what to tell you. Really? Oh, two L's always going in on me. Jeez. Or two L's, sorry.
So, did someone actually say if Orange Pill get it? I don't know what to say.
Just terrible.
All right, wait. Let's all right. So this is your help. This is your Calvary, Joe, and I'm assuming you're gonna agree with. I'm assuming you're gonna agree with everything this man is saying. However,
No way.
the rest of the people might need to provide pushback, right? So I'm going to pause it when I feel like, or you can tell me when to pause it. But y'all gonna have to respond to this. And this
before
is
we get started,
Kamala.
I want to say something.
Yeah.
Real quick before we get started, I think what I've noticed about these social media influencers like this guy here is I always find it funny that they find themselves they take themselves as these informative people, but all they do is react to videos. They never actually have a video with them just straight talking. They say, "Hey, I got this point of view. Now let's watch a video about somebody else," and I'll just stop and respond to it. It's like, wait,
That's
wait,
actually
so
a
what's your-
very clever pickup.
Yeah. But go. Yeah. That's my-
Someone said, Themis, what's the purpose of this panel? We're speaking politics among us black men, and no. And the blank screen, Wes. So,
Adrian, does he still have roommates or did he move out?
Who?
The comment you put on screen.
Who?
Pittus.
Oh, you play entirely too much. The observation you made, Orange Pill, I think is a smart one. It's harder to keep people's attention when you're the only one speaking. So it's easier to be reactionary, and it's cheaper, easier content, unfortunately. And so a lot of people do it, unfortunately, because I would have preferred for him to sit there and give his take as opposed to playing someone else's video. Because honestly, I don't need him in the video to do the response. But the reason I'm doing this is I figured that we would be all similar pages except Jaren, and I don't like a dog pile. So I wanted to include something else that is providing an argument on the other side for you all to respond to. Yeah. I mean, if we can just continue with our conversation, but all we can.
Yeah, I definitely. Yours are different. Like I like your reaction, but like people like him or how his policies, how he thinks is different. But go ahead. Yeah, I didn't mean to include you in that.
No. You weren't. I actually agree with you. I think it's cheap.
Yeah.
That anyway, because of that, I haven't been able to go to work, but I can definitely sit in my chair and make videos. And so today we will be talking about Kamala Harris, and I want to share with you my thoughts on why it is that she is completely unqualified to be the president of this country. And if she is to have her way, if she's elected president and can actually put into motion the economic policies that she envisions for this country, she will continue to run this country into the ground financially, just as she has been doing along with Joe Biden in the Biden-Harris administration.
Is Kamala unqualified to run for president?
Yeah, she didn't get a small loan of $1 million from her dad. We know that taking bribes and having your dad put you ahead of everyone else is a requirement to be president in this country. And she's not white.
A person who makes this statement, I agree with you, your sarcasm there, because a person who ultimately opens a video with this statement is either trying to appeal to a very specific crowd because of their just general take. If you don't explain this, you need to explain why you believe she's unqualified, and qualification is a very specific thing.
Well, Themis, I'm still stuck on the running the country into the ground. I'm still stuck on that financially.
Right.
That's what I'm still stuck on.
Yeah, but, I mean, to be fair, they can make some dumb argument that in that area, but to say she's unqualified
Yeah.
to run is like kind of disgusting and low level, and it's appealing to a very the part of our brains that like the people we don't like getting dragged. So already it feels like we're attacking to engage a very specific audience, because no one with half a brain cell is going to hear she is unqualified. Well, if she's unqualified, how is she running? Okay,
Yeah.
so she is
No, I
qualified.
agree. She is qualified, and I think that like even if you don't agree with her policies or you think
Yeah.
that she wouldn't make a good president, like whatever it is, that's a very different question. To your point, thing is like qualifications. The Constitution lists 3 qualifications to be president. You have to be 35 years old. You have to be a natural born citizen, you know, whatever that means. And you have to, I know what that means, I'm just being sarcastic. And you have to have lived in the United States for 14 years. So she's definitely qualified.
Yeah.
And
Way to
let alone the
announce your,
delegates.
way to announce your lack of integrity. Period. Agreed.
Can I quickly? Oh, never mind. I can't find it. But I was going to put up this Google trend because when we're talking about qualifications to be president, the first thing I Googled, this wasn't recently, this was a little while ago, was can a felon be president? And I remember looking on Google Trends, and there's a point in 2024 where that question just spiked up really high. You can probably guess what point that is.
That's funny.
Yeah,
You
but
play entirely too
I
much.
think the whole qualification thing is kind of goofy because it's like, yeah, on paper you have to be 35 and whatever, but in general conversation we say this person is unqualified for
No,
whatever reason.
I've never said that.
Okay, well,
Well,
we
And
know
that's not a thing we say. That is not a thing we say.
who's
When it comes to the president of the United States, when it came to qualification, it came up with Obama, and it was about him not being born in the U.S. Now it's coming up with Kamala. That's not a thing we do.
okay.
It's not.
So then, do you think Trump is qualified to be president of the United States?
Yes.
Okay, so we're just going off of the paper then. Obviously,
Yeah.
everyone.
I
Yeah,
don't want
obviously
him to be president. But is he qualified to be president? This is
Well, I
something
think
that no. Wait, Republicans deny this, and it's really annoying. It's usually a minority being questioned about their qualifications, and that's a problem. And to engage in this, we don't generally check white men and say, are you qualified to be where you are? That's not a conversation that happens. And that's a problem. So like, no, I'm not engaging with
it
that.
happened when Trump ran
I
in
think that is
2016.
disingenuous. We're not engaging with it. We're not engaging with it. Unfortunately, I'm shutting that part of the conversation down because I think it's disingenuous. I think it is absolutely
No, people
disingenuous.
said he was a game show host. He was unqualified.
Yeah, but they said he did not live up to what it means to be president.
That's what they said. He does not live to be up to what is president. They didn't
He's
say
not saying he wasn't qualified. He was that he did not fit what people perceive a president to be. He was annoying. Not that he was unqualified, which they probably should have said he was unqualified because intellectually there should have been a test. I think if we're going to get a test, if we're going to do a test,
Trump unqualified, nothing will come up.
No, there are people who might have said that there's not a general conversation happening around Trump. Even now, people are saying Kamala is unqualified, and they're comparing her to Trump. Like, that don't make sense. To say Kamala is unqualified when the person she's running against is Trump is diabolical. It is disgusting. The only reason you would say that, like literally, what is the qualification for president?
35, 14 years in the country, natural born citizen.
No, outside of the paper qualification, what is it, Jaron? What is she? Why is she unqualified?
Oh no, people say that because they don't like her. They don't want to.
All right, thank you. That's what I mean.
But I'm saying people say that about Trump too because they're like, he's bad, he's unqualified. But we say that in our modern American zeitgeist, we say this person's unqualified. Are they literally? No. because of X, Y, and Z. I don't like them.
No,
That's
but
my
I'm
point.
saying
It's not a.
this is usually used against minorities as opposed to anyone else. When people were talking about Trump's being unqualified, if at all, it was a pushback against the rhetoric they were pushing against women, particularly around Hillary Clinton. And Hillary, I think the notion was that a woman cannot be commander in chief. And thus, she was unqualified to lead the military, right? And this was turned against Trump. And the question about whether or not Trump was qualified was ultimately about whether or not an outsider could run and be president or should, without any idea of how politics work. And people pointed out in history this has happened before. Now people are using unqualified as a legitimate argument about the vice president of the United States. That is wild.
Yeah.
Her qualification should not come into question. You opened with the fact that you thought Willie Brown gave her a position, right?
I mean, I thought. You don't think it happened?
The question about whether or not she is qualified stems from the fact that people don't believe that she should hold the office, and that something about her makes her not president material. And I'm not engaging with people like that. Like,
what do you mean? You act like
the only way I'm engaging is the only way we engage any further is the only way we engage any further on this is if you can explain to me what qualification she would need that she doesn't have. If you can't do that, I'm not engaging.
She never won a Democratic primary for president. There you go. Do you disagree?
If you have to.
Wait, what do you mean she never won a Democratic primary?
She never won a Democratic primary for president.
So her and Joe Biden being on the same ticket this year doesn't count for you?
No, that would not meet.
Okay, then you don't understand how politics work.
Oh,
Good.
I can assure you I understand.
All right, then we're good.
No, you're...
Go ahead.
Miss, can I add to him? So
No,
this whole thing.
Let him go. I want to hear this.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's about it. I mean, we disagree. I think politicians should be picked by the voters. You disagree. It's okay. It's not.
I did not disagree.
We can agree
that
to disagree.
politicians should be. Do you think when people were voting for Joe Biden, they thought Kamala would be there, and if anything should happen to Joe Biden, Kamala would take charge?
Mm-hmm.
I think they probably hope.
Okay, then let's stop talking.
Right, because that's literally how the presidency works. The vice president is literally a hard way to away from the president.
To not know that if people are
and the Speaker of the House is third.
Yeah,
is third.
That is literally why they voted.
So does that mean no? Wait. Let's engage.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I feel like I know. I think that.
Yeah.
I think Jaron is intentionally trying to create conflict where there is none. The whole point. I'm not done. Zone. You're interrupting me. The whole point of having a vice president is so that they could be president if something were to happen to the president. Something is happening to the president in the run for the election. Therefore, the vice president is stepping in. I don't understand what's so difficult about that. If you have a problem, challenge it at the Supreme Court where Trump installed 3 people there. We're fine legally. All right, let's continue.
What you act like? So was there not a Democratic primary in 2000 because the vice
through
president?
Roof, things are more expensive than ever.
Trump was qualified. He disqualified himself when he disrespected the office. Not only that, the whole felony thing and being locked up. I can't imagine if his son did. Imagine.
Can I say one thing real quick, Demas? Just one last thing about this Jaren thing about this whole she didn't win the primary. His whole argument is all a right-wing talking point. That's all they talk about. Fox News, they're still crying about she didn't win no election. This is illegal, while they're supporting the guy that wanted to overthrow an election. Now they're worried about democracy and elections and
what about the uncommitted voters in Michigan? Are they right wing provocateurs?
That has nothing to do with what I said.
I think Trump is unqualified.
No, you said the only people who disagree with Kamala Harris being the candidate is right wingers. So the people who
I don't think that's true. I think the only thing one of the things that should have disqualified Trump from running is that he started an insurrection and that he wanted to overthrow the democracy. That should have disqualified him, but apparently it didn't. The only person that is close to being unqualified to run for president right now is Donald Trump. Fake Drake is not like us. Period.
Again, people keep messing up my name. Okay, it's Jaren.
Finally revealed some of her economic policies that show clearly that she has no idea what she's doing. She wants to enact economic policies that have been proven to fail every single time. Essentially, she's a communist and wants to implement communist-style price controls. And anytime anyone has ever done that at the government level, it has always failed and always makes the economy worse. And so I want to equip you with this knowledge because even though I personally...
The ideas around the New Deal and post-World War II, the issues that we saw with policy wasn't that they were like price caps or any of that. If you really want to take an issue and really push it forward about what does not work economically, we would look to Reagan and we would also look to the Bush administration. The fact that you're sitting up here making up history about politics and economic policies is wild. Everything that I've learned, and we'll get into some economics when I'm challenged on this, that inflation would not be where it is today. I need someone to make that argument very solidly for me. If not, I'm going to need them to step aside. However, this man, I don't know if he knows what he's talking about. And I'm going to say, this is the time that I'm going to step out of this video and you all have to respond to it, not me. I realize I'm just going to be talking too much. So I'm going to play it and then stop it and then get y'all's responses.
I'm not a particularly political person in that I don't want to tell you who to vote for. I am invested in exploring this because as a black person living in this country, something that I have seen is that there is this call to all black people to vote for Kamala Harris because she's supposedly black and also because she's a woman. Now, anyone who wants to vote for Kamala Harris because of the color of her skin or because of her gender is an absolute moron, and you should most certainly not listen to them about anything regarding politics. Nonetheless, I want to equip you with the information that will allow you to defend yourself. You probably don't want to vote for Kamala Harris.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No,
this is obnoxious.
Yeah.
We literally just opened up the fact that she does not attack enough on the gender issues. And are people telling you to vote for Kamala because she's black and women? Is that what's happening?
No.
Is what happening?
Is the idea that we should vote for Kamala because she's black and woman?
No, he's just silly. He might have had me if he went back to 2008 Obama. He might have had me specifically.
Yeah.
He might have, but he wouldn't have.
Definitely right there. Yeah, Obama. Yeah, Obama. People were talking about that with Obama for sure.
Not even 2012 Obama, 2008 specifically.
Look, you're right. You're right, Freddie. Actually, you're right. You're right. I couldn't vote in 20. The first time I couldn't vote but you couldn't convince me anything else.
It's almost as though VP Harris is going out of her way to not highlight this identity politics and just kind of sticking to the issues,
the policies.
So
yes.
everyone who's saying like whoever this guy is that you just played, that people are saying you should just vote for her because she's black and a woman. Like, who's saying that?
No, but here's the thing. He says the premise of this video is important. He's saying if you don't want to vote for her, but you don't know why, I'm going to equip you with why. That is a wild premise for a video. I'm going to justify for you why you don't want to vote for her. So you don't know why you don't want to vote for her, but here are some talking points I'm going to give you to not vote for her. That is a wild maybe I'm overthinking it. Jaren, can you defend the premise?
Oh, I don't know. I think a lot of conservative YouTube is pretty lame. So
All right, good. Same. Fake Drake. Oh no, let me stop. 100%. Yeah,
YouTube
she
in
gets
general.
my vote. She is a black woman. Why not? I think that it's a weird take to say. I think it's a weird take to say. I'm gonna tell you why you should. You. I'm gonna give you the talking points for why you don't want to vote for her. It's like, so they don't know why they don't want to vote for her. That's weird.
Also,
I
he said he's
mean,
not political, and he says like, "Well, I'm not gonna tell you to vote for her, but I'm gonna give you, like you said, I'm gonna give you the reasons why not to vote for her based on this video from somebody else."
I think the other
He goes on
aspect
to
of
say
it,
he's not a lot of things, but he keeps talking about how he is. But I don't know.
you go ahead, Jamal.
no, I was just saying. I think the other aspect of it is he's trying to present himself. I think I've only seen this guy like a handful of times on YouTube or whatever.
I don't know
I
who
think
this man is. I just watched this.
Yeah.
It was recommended to me.
It was
I
awful
think
too.
I think he's trying to position himself though, even if he's not political, but as an intellectual. Because I mean, even why black people should not vote for Kamala Harris. Like he's even what you just said, him like trying to give you points. It's like, oh, I already for his position is like, I already know that you don't want to vote for her, but here, let me give you some smart things to say so that when you're at like family functions, this is how you can show up and defend what you feel in your gut, but you don't look stupid. So it's kind of like, here, let me get you some pointers, almost like like dating advice almost. It's like, here, let me give you some one-liners that'll help you win in this fight. Like,
can't call black people the N-word anymore. Just call them DEI. Trying to give people tips to circumvent.
Yeah,
look at the Google trend for can a felon be president? Look at it.
Wow.
Wait, this is so wild.
Yo, seriously, like when Jaron was like, "Oh, if we if we Google qualified and Trump, nothing will come up." Like, yeah, something will come up. It's gonna be, can a fella become president? That's what came up.
No, I said something would come up. A lot of stuff because it's a common.
Let's continue. Oh.
Because of her gender is an absolute moron, and you should most certainly not listen to them about anything regarding politics. Nonetheless, I want to equip you with the information that will allow you to defend yourself. You probably don't want to vote for Kamala Harris if you're a black person, just off of the basis of common sense. There's things that you can observe about her and about the Biden-Harris administration that just clearly shows you that whatever they got going on over there isn't working and that these are not competent people. However, I want to give you more than that. I want to give you an actual...
Like what? This is such a weird. This is such a weird take. Like, explain
really hyping
what
himself
those
up.
things are.
I'm going to equip you with this knowledge,
sociological, mathematical approach to justifying why it is that you don't support Kamala Harris and why it is that you believe she's bad for this country. And we're going to do that by looking at her economic policies. I'm not an economist. However, it doesn't take a great degree of knowledge on how economics work, on how free markets work, on how supply and demand works to clearly see that whatever it is that she has cooking up in the kitchen in the way of economic policies is doomed to fail, is terrible, and this makes her a poor choice for the president of the United States. Now, this video comes to us courtesy of the YouTube channel Don't Walk, Run.
Well, I think that's the problem with.
I wish I had listened to the intro. I wish I had listened to the intro of this, because if I had, I would have found a better person to respond to. Because you were saying that you don't have the economic wherewithal to fully understand what is being posited, but you already know it's bad, even though they're working, both groups, mind you. I'm not just saying Kamala is doing this. I'm saying Trump most likely is doing this too, working with their very specific economists around economic policies. Like, I don't think they just pull this out of their hat. And I know this because of economists theories that have either promoted or disavowed ideas coming out. It's not as simple as, oh, you can just look and tell that it's bad, for policies that have not been implemented yet. And for those that have been implemented via the Biden administration, I think it is, ignore him. This is the best right now. Ignore him and let's focus on the video he's watching. All right, cool.
Productions, and video is never go full Kamala unism. Now, this is a play on the word Kamala and communism, because Kamala Harris is a communist, and communism is bad. Anyway, let us begin.
What?
This is
No,
She's
like,
coming.
oh my God, just ignore him. We're gonna ignore him.
I think this is a problem with the
Kamala Harris,
conservative
the shadow
attacks of
president of the United States. Since Joe Biden's replacement on the
whoops.
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, no, I was going to say I think this is a problem with the conservative attacks against Kamala, that they're sort of presenting her as like she's going to do crazy stuff or be a radical, and I don't think she is. And so it's kind of weird attack lines. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be very effective.
It's almost like they're attacking her not based off of her merit, but off of her race and or gender or something.
It's weird because the part of it that is super weird also is that the whole point is Kamala is a middle of the road candidate that's not going to cause any real change or shake up to the system. That's the problem with Kamala, right? In a lot of progressives' conception and conservative conception. So to paint her out to be this communist, lived out woman king is wild. It will not stick. Because Trump, mind you, goes to the Black community and he says, Kamala has been locking Black men up. She is a for the police person, but he can't do that in a general election because he's the pro-police, pro-law enforcement, law and order guy. So he can't, and in them trying to juggle the two sides of Kamala that they think exist, is like them eating themselves. Like, it doesn't work. Their political attack falls short because then you go back 2 more seconds and they're contradicting themselves.
But on the flip side, Kamala is or at least her campaign or whatever is responding to it. They're running toward the right, or the Republicans are saying she's a crazy communist, and it almost seems like she's like, oh, well, I better not. And so she's saying, like with the interview with CNN, all sorts of just boilerplate, George Bush sort of policies. And
I actually believe Kamala is more center than, like, I think she is more of a Obama candidate than she wanted that her base want her to be, right? And that's why I think she ultimately got Walls, right? Walls appeal to the far left, because Kamala can't. Try as she might, she can't. The progressive reject Kamala as a general matter.
No, I think Walls is supposed to mellow her out. He's supposed to be like a
supposed to get the Midwest
old white guy.
No, that might be true, but no, he appeals very directly to the Bernie Sanders group.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh no, he does.
I've never heard that from any Bernie Sanders group.
Oh, that is from Bernie Sanders himself.
Oh, that's different.
Bernie Sanders came and said, if he's the closest thing to me, his people are saying this on YouTube. He appeals to very specifically, like the Kimberly Nicole Fosters of the world, he appeals to.
The free lunches for kids in public schools, that's very far left. And he's got other policies where
the trans question around trans, he is super
tampons and stuff and all that. So he is very appealing, and he has very progressive legislation in his state that the right is trying to make a boogeyman out of him, but it's not going to work. And also, in this guy right here, I just find it funny. He's like, hey, let me show you this video of this guy named Andrew. And I'm like, who the heck is Andrew? And it's just like, he doesn't say who this guy is. It's from this video of this Don't Walk Run, who's a far right YouTube channel. So it's like, okay, you're just echo chamber then, basically. So, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Walls is very progressive, and he appeals to progressive.
Very progressive. And he's a gun owner too, so he kind of helps get a lot. Like, and he's he's a black guy. He gets those. He kind of can appeal into that rural white too, as well, in my opinion.
the news outlet or even give a press conference. Instead, she's hit the road, giving the same exact speech over and over again.
While our economy is doing well by many measures, prices for everyday things like groceries are still too high. Because look, while our economy is doing well by many measures, prices for everyday things like groceries are still too high. While our economy is doing well by many measures, prices for everyday things like groceries are still too high. While our economy is doing well by many measures, prices for everyday things like groceries are still too high. You know it and I know it. 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 You know it and I know it.
Yes, we do know that prices are high, and we also know why they're high. It's because of inflation caused by the massive spending of the Biden-Harris administration. A perfect example of this is the Inflation Reduction Act. Joe Biden recently celebrated its
No, I'm sorry, I can't do this. The problem with the analysis around inflation is it completely ignores the pandemic. You can't do that. Inflation started increasing under Trump during the pandemic. Trump inherited one of the best economy. It was also growing on. It was still on its upward trajectory. Then the pandemic hit, and everything went to crap. It is weird to blame inflation this way, which is why I don't like when people who are non-economists speak on this topic specifically, because it reeks of being completely ill-informed. And the projection, mind you, people are like, oh, I want my Trump check. You know, the Republicans rejected, even under Trump, the stimulus package until Trump forced them to accept it when they agreed that he could put his name on it.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't the pandemic didn't cause inflation. It was the response to the pandemic. I mean,
yes, it started under Trump's response also. Most economists' analysis of how the Trump administration proposed to deal with the pandemic versus the Biden administration and how they dealt with the pandemic, they agree that Trump's policies would have caused more problems. Now,
it's the counterfactual. I mean, what are you gonna? How would you argue?
You don't prove that. That's what I'm saying. It's about the estimation of potentially what should happen. But that's my problem, though. Unless we're talking to real economists here, I don't really care. Now, separately, that you feel, right, that you're feeling the impact of inflation, you don't care about a projection. You care about the fact that you can't afford groceries. And now we need to deal with that reality. Whose policies will help you deal with that reality? And then we can debate that. Well, I'm not debating that. Harris and Trump can debate that.
Didn't Trump trade war cause inflation to go crazy higher? Or am I just making that up?
No, you're not making that up.
The tariffs,
Biden maintained the exact same thing. So.
Yeah, but Trump's policy, isn't it causing cereal to be like $21 a pound or something crazy?
What are you talking about?
Cereal.
The idea that Biden maintained it. Sorry, I shouldn't have cut you off, Petty. You and Jaron can go.
No, I was just questioning cereal being, I think 21. Even Trump is saying that. So that's where I'm getting that from. If you're asking where's that coming from,
it's not. Where you buy cereal?
Okay.
As a big-time progressive myself, and along with all the progressive YouTubers, yes, Walls got us invested. Kamala was a moderate in the 2020 primary, and she's a moderate now.
So hey, Jaron, so did you know that the Kroger executives admitted in court, because Biden and Harris got them in court, that they admitted to price gouging?
Sure. Did they
And
not?
they're trying to merge. Oh, what you about to say?
No, go ahead.
They're trying to merge with another supermarket chain in order to basically try to price gouge, and he'll go into a little bit of what he thinks is really going on. So, this whole thing, with her constantly bringing it up, and then this guy talking about this Biden's fault and all this, they admitted to raising prices on eggs beyond inflation intentionally. So there's the evidence. And we didn't get to Ticketmaster and everything else that Biden and Harris administration is fighting in court against. So it's not just with food.
Yeah. I mean, inflation affects everything. I mean, they're the current administration. I don't. It's like when Trump in 2020 was like, "Oh, I'm gonna fix the border." It's like, you're president. Like yeah, okay, Kroger's price gouging. What the hell are Biden and Harris doing about it right now? Like,
They're in court trying to stop them from price gouging because they're trying to, first of all, trying to stop Kroger from merging in order to create less competition. They're trying to enforce antitrust laws. So they got them in court trying to stop them from merging. I forgot what other company they're trying to merge with. Saying they got
Orange Phil. Wait.
Yeah, so
Period. Come to Orangeville. Oh, period.
The Joe Biden
said what?
administration, we don't care about groceries. What we care about is these rent prices. And the Joe Biden administration is coming after RealPage, who is keeping these rent prices high. So that's what I care about. I don't care about that $5 cereal. I care about this $1,700 and something a month. New York is crazy or whatever.
Okay, that was period. Dems are embarrassed to even call themselves Dems. Why would she appeal to the left or ultra left? Republicans and centrists are more politically motivated. Dems are too purists and crybabies. I agree.
Somebody said, I got a son now, I got some sense. What? Oh, jeez. I mean, that did kind of change a lot of stuff, honestly. Oh, my God.
What? A period.
so are we saying
Sorry, I'm
that
not going to go back to this video.
Or are we saying there's no inflation? It's price gouging? Is that the?
Yes, we're saying there is inflation. Yeah. There is inflation.
Yeah, so Kroger is basically, because they're in court, so they can't lie. So they're basically admitting that they're under testifying. They are testifying that they did price gouge above inflation. It's under Newsweek, Business Insider, Forbes. Everybody's talking about it. So, so I mean, it makes sense. I mean, we already got laws in place in state-wise against price gouging. So when Larry Kudlow, all these people talk about that, there ain't no price gouging and all this stuff. And even if it is, how's she gonna fix it? Doesn't make any sense. I was like, we already got stuff in place. So
yeah, but that was the line. When people were bringing up inflation in 2021, 2022, the line was, "Oh, it's just price gouging." So I mean, like I've been hearing about this for years.
The question is not. No. I don't think it is just price gouging. I think that would be intellectually dishonest to not admit inflation. Like I think that's intellectual dishonesty. However, we're gonna jump now because I realized we were supposed to be 2 hours and we're 2 hours and 30 minutes in. So I apologize to you all, and I appreciate you sharing your time. Let's jump to like an issue. Are Black men politically activated enough? And if not, how do we politically activate them? Regardless of their political affiliation, I do hope that people who are planning to vote for Trump think more in depth about what that means and why they would do it. But go ahead. Anyone? Are Black men politically activated enough, and how do we politically activate them?
I don't think so. I don't think Black men are politically activated enough due to. I think there's this illusion that Black men. There's a section of Black men that think that their vote doesn't count or doesn't matter or nothing will affect. Their vote won't affect anything or won't change anything. But then in a weird argument, they'll argue that the people in office, they aren't doing anything for them. So it's this weird type of thing. And I think
let's stay there. Let's stay there. Because I do hear that a lot where they're saying people in office aren't doing anything for Black men and they don't care about Black men. But what I don't hear are policy prescription outside of like talking to RFK about wanting to do away with like child support. I don't hear like the policies that like we want, like what Black men want.
Well, they will say. Yeah, well, they will bring up criminal justice reform as one, but then they don't know how the Republicans voted against it because they wanted immunity, and Trump is also for getting immunity for police
I mean, they
officers.
have some immunity, right? Qualified.
Yeah,
But
qualified immunity.
Trump is trying to expand the immunity of police officers. So are black men saying they want what is the argument on criminal justice? Because I'm very confused. Because some of the people that I hear online, to be fair, argue that they're voting for Trump are the ones saying that criminal justice is important to them. But I don't understand the argument. Maybe they're saying we need to be protected more and the police will protect us more.
Yeah, they'll argue. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I don't know the argument being made.
Yeah.
For black.
Well, like I
black
said,
men want?
I know, not to sidestep from that because it doesn't make sense because, like I said, they'll argue about the police shootings and all this stuff and injustice, but they don't they don't want the George Floyd Justice Act. They don't know anything about that and how it was stopped by Republicans and all that stuff. So they just think it's somehow the party in office, Democrats, are not doing enough. And which it's like it's hard to I think a lot of them don't know about civics and just how things are passed and who's responsible and all that stuff. But a bigger part of what I hear them say is that there's this economic thing where they think that they're going to get more. They're going to get more. They had more money under Trump, or they think that Trump's going to bring them money, or they're going to be more financially successful. Not about community, but just individualistic wise.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Jaron, if you can.
I don't know if anybody can.
I don't know. I think black men care about what most people care about, which is probably their number one would be their pocketbook. Their money in their pocket, and I mean, in the last, since what, 2008, 2016, 20, 24 years or so, there's been, Democrats in office for 12 years in the presidency, and they're doing worse. Or, I mean, between 2008 and now, your median or below median earners doing worse off than the people, the wealthy. So, I mean, it sort of makes sense to me that people would want to change or a change from the status quo. And
wait, are you saying the erosion of the middle class started with democratic policies? Because that would be wrong.
No, it started with, didn't start. A big hit was the the global financial crisis. That was a big one.
All right. And then the dip in GDP, the dip in employment, the dip in household income, the dip in sort of wealth generally for the middle class definitely occurred under the Bush administration. And then
sure, and
Democratic policies reinvigorated the economy, and it was on an upward trajectory. To be fair, it was that way under Obama. It continued that way under Trump, and then we had a once-in-a-lifetime event again in the way of the pandemic.
Well, sure. I mean, Obama and Bush and Clinton, they all represented a certain era of politician or certain era of policies.
But
in 2016, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump represented a
different, yeah. But if we're talking about economic policies and international relations, and even in terms of war generally, the Bush administration holds the L for the downward turn in the economy. It is what it is.
And with the election of Donald Trump.
But then don't say, wait, you said then Donald Trump what?
No, I'm saying, and Donald Trump represents a rejection of that.
Well, when it comes to economy, no. The exact trend.
We just talked about, or Petty had just brought up tariffs. That's not.
Yeah. But I'm talking about the economic growth that occurred both under the Obama and the Trump administration. Only took a dip. Like, if we just want to say take a dip, it took a dip in the Trump administration. But I'm not as intellectually dishonest to blame Trump for that when there was a pandemic. Unlike you, who blame the middle class, the erosion of the middle class, on democratic policy. That is a
No, that's not
wild
what I
thing to
said.
do.
I said the era from Clinton, Bush, Obama are very similar economically,
Yeah,
and this
and
is
they
a
did
change away from
okay. They were fine. The issue. No, it's not that they were similar. You said that it caused the decrease in sort of employment and household income. That's what we were talking about. But you skipped where the actual decline occurred, which was under the Bush administration. The Bush
And
administration
you're
was the problem.
assuming that the Bush administration and the Obama administration and the Clinton administration were very different.
Yes,
Based on what?
particularly around administrative law and oversight when it comes to loan. Where we got the housing bubble, those were very specific economic policies under the Bush administration. That has been studied by pretty much every economist.
Sure, and also by the repeal of Glass-Steagall.
But the lack of oversight, for one, the buying of homes that you cannot afford. Two, the creation of the housing bubble was a very specifically Bush administration issue. So no, if there's an erosion and the decline that occurred in the economy, we can see very clearly when we look at the trends in GDP generally, if we want to go bird's eye view, we can see it clearly happening not only just under the Bush administration, but because of the Bush policy. There is a direct causal connection between the Bush policies and the economic downturn. And then there is a clear connection between the increase and the better economy that we saw under Obama with the Obama policy.
What Obama? My point, I'm not defending George Bush. I don't like George Bush. My point is Clinton, Bush, Obama are all of the similar policy cloth outside of rhetoric and outside of cultural designation. What was the difference between the Bush administration and the Obama administration in economic policy?
I told you about oversight when it comes to loans and banking, particularly. One of the biggest issues was the lack of oversight for banking.
Okay, when did that start?
Under the Obama administration. When we're talking about lending money, wait, are you saying you don't understand what happens with, people use the housing bubble as just a general talking point, but I feel like people don't understand it. If you're asking me what happened under Bush versus Obama that would change the economic trajectory, I feel like that's a weird thing to ask.
Do you know what the Great Financial Crisis in 2008 was?
Yes, I do, but that's not the problem.
It was a collapse of huge financial institutions because they mixed commercial loans and consumer loans, which only happened because of the repeal of Glass-Steagall. Do you know when that happened?
You are asking me a question that is irrelevant to the the issue at hand right now, because it feels like you are deflecting from the fact that there was no oversight for bank lending.
What was the oversight of bank lending?
Wait, who do you think repealed?
Glass-Steagall was repealed in 1999.
I have a
Sorry, I don't know
superstar to
what's
show y'all.
They have too many tabs open.
Glass-Steagall was repealed in 1999. Who was president?
Are you actually asking? So you don't know anything about the review of financial lending? Sorry, not loans, but lending under the Clinton administration. Are you saying that didn't happen?
No, it's clear you don't know what happened during the Great Financial Crisis. It was toxic.
You don't know. You are literally the one I asked about this.
The Glass-Steagall removed the barrier between commercial and consumer lending, which led to the collapse of the big banks like Lehman Brothers.
Yes.
And okay, you agree. When was my overall point? Clinton, Bush, Obama, very similar.
No, they're not. That's what I'm telling you. That the policies under the Obama administration, right?
Pause.
So a situation where assets drop shortly, right? Business and consumers and the struggle when people could not pay back their debt. The whole point, before we continue, The whole point here, when we're talking about oversight, are you admitting, because we don't actually have to get into the details, but we can, and we're about to if you want to. Are you saying that the oversight of bank loans when it comes to housing, specifically housing, that was not different under the Obama, right? Under the Obama era versus the Bush era. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that the mortgage crisis was a precursor of the great financial crisis, and that during the Obama administration to get a house was harder for lower income people because it was much stricter.
Yes.
My overall point, Clinton, Bush, and Obama administration are very similar economically in that Glass-Steagall separated commercial and investment banking, 1999, repealed. This allowed banks to give loans to people who shouldn't have had it, especially mixed up with their investments. When these mortgages all fell apart, the banks fell apart. So that somebody who couldn't pay their mortgage in Alabama, suddenly Germany's collapsing. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying this was a multi-administration affair, reflecting a multi-administration continuation of same economic policy, despite being the same different parties. And to that, I'm saying in 2016, the election was of voters rejecting a continuation.
Wait. Let me, if I can interject for a minute. So I think Jaren, you're asking a question about like what's the difference, or you're saying there's no difference. I think one of the main differences is President Obama
wait. No. I want to stick. Wait, before we continue, because I think I know where you're going. But when you talk about Glass-Steagall, and the idea that, so for broader context, the claim that it was appealed, not 1990s early, but late 1990s. I'm going to go 1999, actually. And that it wasn't repealed, but neutered, rendered useless because of how different administration engage with it. I'm trying to figure out how we are not just skipping all of that and just considering oversight of bank. Like that's the whole, like the problem was the problem is that consumers who couldn't afford, homeowners who couldn't afford homes are getting it or whatever. They engaged and got debt that they could not pay for. The banks were not really doing a thorough check in terms of their lending. And then the government was not having an oversight. This is the simplest way that I can put the issue that we come up with specifically in the United States. I'm trying to figure out, because Jaren makes this very weird claim that, oh, you don't understand the economic crisis, where I'm literally talking about the one part that the government is involved with and it is important that they engage with, and that is oversight. For people who are center or for people who are very capitalistic, right? The idea of free market, rather, is that, well, the government shouldn't be doing this, that the government shouldn't be overseeing these banks, that competition would lead the banks to act appropriately. We know that's not what would happen. So when you make the claim that, oh, you don't understand what happened, right? When you make the claim that, oh, I don't think you get it, you're missing the point of what the issue is around oversight. Because I'm not going to blame the people who engage in the spending. The bank is going to do what the bank does, and they shouldn't have been bailed out, or they should have, because we would have destroyed the economy. But ultimately, I'm going to put the L at the feet of the government for their lack of oversight, which changed under the Obama administration, right? And so, like, I feel like that's an L that reasonable economists have given to the Bush administration, right?
But it didn't really change. They bailed out everyone. Like,
No, I mean they bailed out everyone, yes. But my issue isn't that. My issue is that why are you rejecting a basic principle around who is to be blamed, the administration that is to be blamed? Like, everyone put the blame at the feet of the Bush administration. I don't understand why that's difficult for you to do.
Sure, but I never said George Bush wasn't responsible. Clinton.
Okay,
was.
then if he's
And-
responsible, why are we continuing the conversation here?
No, because you suggested that after George Bush, everything was better.
The economy was better.
I mean, Barack Obama came into a faltering economy
and fixed it
in his first term as president. That he literally turned around through the 2009 like.
By the way, this is one of the issues that I had.
Why are we rewriting history right now? I don't understand.
I don't know, but not only that, this is why people have this a very throwaway thing that becomes a part of common culture where Obama ain't done nothing for black people. Obama ain't done nothing. It wasn't a great. No, I reject all of that. Y'all can have your opinion on him, but the economy, the turnaround on the economy, I put it all at his feet. You can fight with whomever you want to fight with. I'm not engaging with the idea that like
what policies did he implement that caused this resounding recovery? Bailing out all of the banks.
2009 Recovery Act.
And what did that do?
I feel like no. I feel like Joan is just being facetious because like
I live in the world where like Occupy Wall Street happened. You live in the world where everyone was happy that all the banks got bailed out. Because
I live in the world where
happy. That's the problem. That's the difference. We, the people, don't always know what's best. And so, like, when we're out there fighting and saying, no, this shouldn't happen, ultimately it worked for a benefit, so I'm fine. After the fact. Now, I can drag them doing the fact with my short-sightedness, but, like, yeah, Occupied Wall Street happened, and what about it?
Okay. I mean, this is the modern liberal, I guess. Like, yeah, it's not very status quo.
So, Jaron, in your opinion, President Obama didn't do anything to turn the economy around, right? Because that's what it sounds like. I'm just trying to clarify what you're saying.
Can you tell me what he did?
That's not my question. I'm asking you, in your opinion, he was just like a two-term lame duck president who didn't do anything for the economy after coming into a second Great Depression.
Universal health care, didn't do it. He implemented I forget what the acronym stands for, TARP, bailing out the banks and automobile industry that was going under.
That wasn't my question. I'm asking you.
What is your question? Do you think Obama did anything good? Yeah, he did some good stuff. Thank you. Good question.
That wasn't my question.
Let's take a break and
Hold on, Jaron. That
was also, Jaron is definitely voted for Trump. Like, bro, don't even try to. Yeah, you're okay. It's a safe space, bro. It's a safe space, bro. Like,
I can admit Trump ran on X.
Jaron, the question was posed to you: how do you get black people activated? Men, in particular, activated politically.
I don't know. How do you get anyone? I don't know. Black men specifically.
Yeah, do you think they're
running on the
activated
economy?
politically?
I think men are very sensitive to like the economy. So I think running on the economy.
No, because they don't give economic policies, and like it's not men generally. White men engage in politics, at least at the national level. Locally,
I mean that's true. I think that's true. I think Black America is not very political in that white America will vote for Republicans will say we're going to do this, and then white people will vote for them, and Democrats will say we're going to do this. So they sort of follow policy or follow their interests, and black people.
Do you think black men follow policy in their interests?
Oh, I don't. I mean, by the numbers, it doesn't appear that way. So, and
Right,
by
because
follow their policies, it would have to change on what's proposed, and it doesn't seem.
But I'm guessing you don't think you know because like what I'm asking is, do you think the way that black men vote or don't vote is in alignment with what they say they want? Because in my mind, it is yes. Because the more I hear men speak, the less inclined I am to tell them to vote, because it doesn't seem like they have specific things for which they want to see actualize.
Oh, I do. I mean, I do. I mean, it depends what you're talking. I mean, my big thing is foreign policy. I don't agree with the Ukraine policy of the Biden administration or the Israel policy, or we can go down the list. So I mean, that's my big thing.
No, I'm not talking. I'm hoping everyone here has
I
like.
mean, I think people do. I just think, I mean, it varies. I mean, we can go off of polls, what women voters and what men voters are prioritized very different.
Yeah,
and
but that's
if you break that
the
down.
thing though. Like men don't show up. Black men don't show up to the polls.
Yeah,
All right, Wes.
I don't know.
30 megawatt. Anyway, Themis loves the live and you. I appreciate that. I feel like I might not rewatch this because I support Orange Pill on his redemption arc. Now I'm a summon Stan so he can begin. I think Stan is a lost cause. Have him name 3 Trump policies that help Black men. I don't think. I mean, I'm not going to say a rejection of Kamala is a support of Trump, so I'm not going to ask him that. But Trump did not govern any differently from Clinton, Bush, and Obama either. If we're going that general, we already had a Trump term, and he just wrote off Obama economy and blew up the deficit.
It's hopeless. They're right. It's over. Just move to the woods.
Period. I don't know who said that, but period. All right, go ahead, Wes. Are Black men politically activated, and how do we get them? Is Megan Thee Stallion on stage going to get black? No. Go ahead. Ignore that.
Are Black men activated politically? I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they are. I think they are, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Where are they?
Yeah, I think that Black men are starting to become more politically active, but to your point, I don't know if it's always in their best interest, in our best interest. Like, so I take part in looking at media that I don't necessarily always agree with, right? Like, because I want to see different point of view. So I'll watch CNN, I'll watch Fox, I'll watch MSNBC, I'll read from different news outlets just to get different points of view. And on Fox, they had like this interview where they went around talking about interviewing Black men about the current election, and obviously there's a selection bias there, but many of them were talking about why they were voting for Trump in 2024. So I think there is some level of engagement, but I don't know if it always is in the best interest for themselves or for the Black community. And that's not to say that, right, that Black men need to always vote Democrat. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, the people who really make me scratch my head are folks who say, well, what is Kamala Harris going to do for Black people? But then they think that voting for Donald Trump is going to actually result in some type of benefit to Black people. And so, yeah, I think that Black men are actually being engaged, but not necessarily on the right side of the line, if you will. At least not right now.
Yeah,
it's disheartening for me.
They overwhelmingly vote Democrat. Trump saw the largest modern increase in Republican getting like Black male vote. And I think that's an interesting reality. Will he get more? There was this thought that I found really disturbing that Trump having a felony would make him appealing to certain groups. And I think that is a really sad space. And I don't know if that's going to have any meaning ultimately.
Yeah.
Orange Pill.
Yeah, I think that there are Black men that are politically engaged, but they're not. There's a section of them that are. I think Black men right now, and not all Black men, but this section of Black men are kind of like. There's a group of Black men that are just looking for a leader, and or somebody to lead them as a group.
Well, I thought men were leaders already.
Yeah, I thought so too. But I thought there was leadership in all of them, but it seems like I said there's this looking as Trump as their this bravado or like this masculineness or something. And I think a lot of the Republicans are ear hustling, and they're watching a lot of this manosphere and the tension between black men and black women. Are I hear on Fox News talking about, oh, the Democratic Party has forgotten you and all that stuff. So I guess it's like you have to have a civics lesson with a lot of these black men with their issues. I think a really good civics lesson, not necessarily saying, hey, vote for Democrats because of this or Republicans because of this, but I think a lot of them just really need a hard civics lesson on how things work, bills pass, and things for the community.
Gotcha. Jamal, before you go, given 74.5% of U.S. adult males are produce estrogen, have you noticed increased male neuroticism? Wait, is this a real question? And cognitive dulling? Can we enact significant change with such low number? What? No, I don't understand this question. That is $9, and I don't understand the question. Are you saying we're getting dumber as men? I mean, apparently we are just not doing well as a species generally. It is a pet peeve of mine when people minimize the contribution of black leaders while simultaneously glorifying the contribution of white leaders. I mean, I think when someone is... No, I'll leave that alone. What is with Jaron critiquing Obama from the left and then coming to the conclusion to lean to Trump, who is even further to the right than Obama? Like, all the things he said would get worse under Trump. To be fair, Jaron is a contrarian, regardless of what he says.
No, people say that because they can't engage.
How many people say that to you?
Oh, just you.
So a person says that one.
You better correct.
You are contrarian. You are contrarian. You just switched it up from people to one. Okay, got it.
Bro, I hope you are actually a contrarian.
Sorry, you got dragged. You have to. Yeah, that was a cute drag. That was a cute drag for you. You can come back now, Jaron. You can come back. You hit him with the left.
Where are your glasses, Jaron? Everybody showed up in
LASIK.
uniform.
I'd recommend it. I got LASIK.
Jaron don't have a comeback. I thought he had something for you, Petty. Go ahead.
You know, people who get LASIK don't have comebacks. After that laser go in there, you know your eye is like a cone, and it'll magnify that laser, and it'll bounce around, and all of your brain matter is gone. So Jaron got that LASIK eye surgery. You could tell because he's squinting right now. You haven't opened your eyes fully for this whole panel.
You got to whack him back. You can't take that. Whack him back.
Huh?
Jaron, you need to whack it.
You need to whack that stuff off of your head.
Your eyes
and that means something coming from me, sir. You better heed what I'm saying.
No, I think you should get LASIK. I'd recommend it. It wasn't that expensive.
Oh, I can see. I'm cosplaying. I'm not like you, sir.
Wait, pause.
I can actually see out of
this
both
is
of
the
my
problem
eyes.
with the black community.
The problem is black men wearing
each other.
glasses, and they don't need to. That's the problem.
So I put a picture of our masculine. Someone said daddy, I think masculine daddy Trump in the comments. They said black men are looking to orange pill. Sorry, said that. I guess black men are kind of as a collective. I didn't know about this. I missed the meeting, but they're looking for masculine leadership in the president Trump. So I just looked up some pictures of him quickly to see what popped up and put one in the back chat. You don't have to show it.
Let me look what you put in the back chat. Wait, I'm not putting that on my screen. You try.
And like I was saying, Themis, before, the what's her name? She kind of talks about it, even though I didn't like kind of how her phrasing of it or her argument she was laying. Nina Turner, where like the Democrats are emasculating black men, and she started talking about, you know, the black men are leaning towards Trump because of the masculinity, but she doesn't necessarily point out it's like this false masculinity. She's just constantly, yeah, they're going towards him because he's masculine and all this other stuff.
He
It doesn't really talk about.
He's about to go to prison. Masculinity.
Yes, right.
Darren, were you burn your bust, if I may ask? Yes or no?
Oh yeah, that was
Period.
2016 was crazy.
All right, go ahead, Teddy.
Oh, I was feeling the burn too. We all put hashtag feel the burn.
I was not feeling no burn.
Some of us learned one lesson. Some of us learned another.
When I went back and researched Bernie Sanders' history, and he didn't have one single scandal, and he was always like free lunch, black people are our equals, LGBT rights, women's. He just been doing that for 50 years. He was all the way back in 1912. I don't know, doing some activism. I was like, okay, so he's about this thing for real.
Period. How do we get black men to show up to the polls?
Well,
at this rate, you don't want black men to show up to the polls if the trends keep going. So,
I do. I want them to show up. I want them engaged.
The meltdown would be bad.
We'll see. Go ahead. Go ahead, Freddie. You think black men go vote for Trump, who wants to give more immunity to the police officers?
I'm stuck, so I kind of share Jaren's position where I'm like, okay, maybe we can work on getting them to come for the next election. But before we work on getting them to the poll, we got to work on who are we voting for and why. Who are they going to vote for, and why they should vote for who we want them to. But also, I'm wondering if. So the part of me that's agreeing with Jaren is the part of me that believes that black men would vote Trump into leadership with the assumption that they will be the exception, right? Remember the Indian guy? I forgot his Vivek, right? And he was running alongside Trump. And one of them women just got on stage and said, yeah, we would never vote for you because you're brown, but like, thank you for being here. And
no, she said because he's not Christian.
No, she said because he's Indian. What did she say? Here, let me Google it. It's okay.
I got it. Let me find it. I saved it somewhere.
She said, yeah, it's too many. And then what were these people saying?
What's her name? Ann Coulter. I think it was Ann Coulter. Yeah.
Is she the bleach blonde?
Bad built butch body. Nope.
No, that's not her. That's another
the vampire.
Oh, they all look the same.
She looked like Buffy the vampire, but she is the vampire.
She was at a roast for like, I forgot, Rob Lowe, and they were just roasting her the whole time. It's so funny.
No,
One second, let me play. I'm just going to play the small clip, not the long one. 1 second.
I too am a fan of yours. I'm going to make a point of disagreeing with you so that it will be fun. You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agree with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
Jared, not you trying to lie to us. Not you trying to lie to us. She straight up told that man.
Oh no, there was another. I'm thinking of another incident. There's a town hall where some lady was like, "I couldn't vote for a non-Christian." So there's many different instances we might be talking about.
And that man, this is how diabolical these people are in the Republican Party. He smiled, took that, and continued the interview, pretending like this woman didn't just disrespect him to his face. I don't trust none of them people. Go ahead, continue, Prince Petty.
He already had the tap dance shoes on. What did you want him to do?
I guess you gotta dance. You have the shoe. If you have the shoe on, you better dance. Go ahead.
What did she say about Black Americans? I missed that. What did she say?
He can't say anything.
Yeah, we don't care what Ann Coulter have to say.
You know how Republicans are. They attack the left for this, but they have all sorts of DEI hires over there. Just we want somebody with a darker colored skin to say exactly what I put in your mouth. So I wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think where Indians are going to be in the Republican Party, that could have been, black men. It could have taken it over, gotten a black moon base, but The
to
Indians are
be
gonna get
called
there
all
first.
kind of foolishness. Go ahead, Jamal. Please just interrupt Jaron and continue. Wait, Petty just convinced me that black men might sitting this one out might be a good thing. I don't know if he convinced me. Actually, I think I want more black men to be politically activated, talk more about politics, engage with it, and maybe do something about what they want. But what say you?
Oh, I
Jamal?
want black men, excuse me, sorry. I want
Go
black
ahead.
men to talk more. Absolutely. I think we should all be listening and I think they should be talking. I just am scared about the vote. And my question, which I don't have an answer to be fair, is would it be another crime bill where people are voting for this with the assumption that they're only going to go after like the bad blacks, and I'm not the bad black. So that's all. Sorry, Jamal.
No, it's all good. Bad blacks. I just got to hold on to that one. That's but that's important. So there's a question.
Articulate ones.
How do we get black men more involved in politics?
The internet. I mean, and I don't say that like jokingly or tongue in cheek, but I think there is a huge influence that the internet has that I think sometimes is overlooked. I think black men are involved in politics, but passively, meaning they are hugely influenced by whatever talking heads exist online and not necessarily traditional media. And I think that has had a huge influence. Even I was trying to look quickly at like the growth of YouTube. And so I think about the period for me specifically, my time in college, YouTube was not what it is now. But over time, since Obama's administration up until where we are now, the use of YouTube to be even though it's entertainment, also used as an educational outlet for questionable things of education, I think is something that we have to actually seriously take note of. And I think a lot of people in general, but specifically black men, learn a lot from the internet, and it quietly influences the decisions that they make in every aspect of their lives, including politically. So even the idea of like, at this point in hindsight, a lot of there are people who question President Obama's influence or impact for the country and for the black community. I think a lot of that questioning comes from people having the ability to share their thoughts and opinions and their research through platforms like YouTube, whether you want to call them conspiracy theorists or not, whatever. Those alternative media, that alternative information is taken seriously, I think, by black men in a very quiet way, because you can sit and comment behind, avatars and stuff and share your actual thoughts and feelings, but in public, you won't share it. And I think that is something, the only way, I think that would be a huge tool that we would have to use to get black men involved. Like there has to be, I mean, at this point, I don't know what's going to happen in 2 months, but it would have to be like a wave of convincing information to fight the narratives that exist online. I mean, that's just my cultural guess.
I mean, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to disagree with. I actually had a question for Hood Mystic. Hood Mystic, if you want to click that link, you can come up and tell us how black men are excluded from politics. Who is excluding black men from politics? Well, if you're keeping black men out the polls, I'm not reading that. Y'all play entirely too much. Chums is one of the smart ones. Oh, I remember when he said that, and no one checked him on that. Well, maybe no one would have checked him. All right. So, like, I'm going to ask one question in closing. So, like, you can think about it and then we'll go to closing. Is women's right a significant motivator or motivator at all in your consideration coming into this election? That's going to be like your closing statement, your closing whatever statement. All right, think about it. Let's go in the after show. Go ahead. Let's start with Jaren.
For me, no.
Do you consider it at all?
Very, very low on my list of
What
concerns.
What do you think about when you think about it?
What do you mean?
Like when you think about women and the impact of the election, and if I say autonomy and all of that, you know where I want you to go. I just want you to give a general view on how you consider women in the election.
How do I consider women in the election?
Yeah, like when you're voting, what do you think about when it comes to women?
Oh.
And their rights. You said very low, so you must think of something. What is that?
Oh, I
thing?
mean, the only thing would be abortion, but I live in a state that's totally cool with it, so it's like not a concern to me.
All right, but are you pro?
Sure. It's not up to me, but
Period. Same.
sure.
Would you be opposed to a national ban on abortion?
Yes.
All right. All right, good. Not good as in the correct answer, but
But
good
I
as
think
in-
the current state thing is fine. Alabama will catch up one day. They've been, I don't know. They'll figure it out.
I mean, while they try to figure out where people's lives are at stake. Like, what do you
I don't
mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't like that. Was the apathy?
Alabama, they've been struggling for a long. I don't. They'll figure it out one day. I don't know.
I'm laughing because
Everywhere else.
let me just say this. I'm laughing not because I'm laughing with Jaren. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable and I can't believe that he's like, oh yeah, Alabama will catch up one day. I mean, sucks to suck for all them people getting ardent and the IVF issue that was put on hold, thankfully. It sucks to suck in his mind. So that's why
I wouldn't live in Alabama, so I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Got it. All right, go ahead, Wes. Let's just go Wes, Orange Pill, Jamal, and then Prince Betty.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm thinking about that impacts going into the election and like being engaged. I already know who I'm voting for is not Donald Trump. But outside of that, like being able to like and when I say it, you use the general term of like women's issues, but what comes to my mind right now is Roe v. Wade, and the just complete decimation of that decision and how that real impact that it has on women in this country. And I know that one of the candidates, if they are elected, they may very well have a national ban on abortion. And the other candidate, if elected, is promising to do everything that she can to reverse the effects of that terrible decision that gave no respect to the to precedent, longstanding precedent. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that's top of mind for me. I hope that it's top of mind for other men in this country, regardless of where you live or what may impact you personally, because it's very important. So yeah, it's definitely something that's on my mind.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Orange Pill.
And wait, one more thing. I will say, it will be much more likely. How about that? It will be much more likely that there will be a national ban on abortion if one person gets elected over the other. All right, I'm done.
No.
No.
Orange Pill. Yep.
Yeah, hey.
Sorry. Oh yeah, that was my. I think some people saw. That was my son that I showed. I don't know if you saw
I
Themis.
wouldn't have done that. I didn't see it. Please don't do that because I don't
I'm
want
sorry.
your. Yeah, it's not for me. It's for your safety and his.
Oh yeah, I got you. I didn't mind it, but I get what you're saying. Um, so I think this is the women's issues are of the most importance this election because it's not just abortion rights that I feel like that's the face of everything that's going on right now, but it's a much deeper, darker thing going on behind the scenes. Like I'm sensing things. There's things talks about them trying to go after divorce and when allowing divorce and certain stipulations of divorce. They're trying, like I said, they're trying to go after IVF. They're trying to go after we had a clip. I don't think we watched it here about people with parents and stuff like people with kids. They should be allowed to vote twice for the kids. I feel like that's an attack on women and the child's cat ladies and women without kids. So I think there's a deeper thing. It's going to start with abortion, then it's going to go after everything else after that in regards to women and controlling their bodies. So I'm against the abortion thing, but I'm like we need to nip this in the bud now before they go down because once they win on this with Trump, they're going to try to go after everything.
I won't push back on this. I just wanted to be clear. When you say you are against the abortion thing, can you explain that? I won't question it. I just want to know what that means.
Yeah. Well, I'm against the states being allowed to determine their own abortion rights because they're not, even when they have certain situations where they say, okay, like in Texas, in case of health situations with mothers, they're still not allowing an abortion to go through because I don't think should be a states' right issue. I think it should be a federal. It should still women should still be allowed to make their own healthcare decisions in regards to abortion. I didn't mean to say that abortion thing, but yeah, I don't think it should be a states' right thing because people who are elected don't necessarily represent what's in the best interest of their states. That's why even in red states where they implemented these abortion initiatives, the states are overall choosing that women should choose, regardless of what Trump is saying, talking about everybody wanted this to be overturned so states can figure it out themselves. So states are still like, no, we still think women should choose. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm all about women getting their own, of any kind, of getting their own rights to choose what they want to do with their own bodies, whether they have kids or not. So I'm all for it. I think it's the one number one issues. So that's still a lot, but yeah.
No, that's fine. I think the other one was Jamal.
Yeah, it's a top issue for me too. Yeah, like it's I think if we're gonna have any successful progress in this country to getting to a better place, we have to take care of women. And if we're stripping away and ripping away their rights to have self-autonomy or to have autonomy, it's not going to be good. So I think it's super important that we encourage and support women being seen as and respected as human beings.
Gotcha. All right, and Patty, you last one. I do actually have a question that I was thinking about, but go ahead, Patty.
The real question is not do I care about women's rights? Do women care about women's rights? Because I have seen some disturbing content on your channel recently, which I thought was isolated, but also just in BWE generally, divestment adjacent places. I've seen a sort of support for conservatism that I wouldn't expect to see, to the point where I feel like it will be almost detrimental to Black women. And I'm not sure why that exists, or if it's all in my head, or if there's just a loud minority that I saw. I can't remember the specific channel, but I remember it being a big content creator.
Wait, Patty, you said you saw somebody was what? I'm sorry, I missed that.
No,
You said
he was
saw
talking
something.
about what's happening on the content front. But go ahead, you can ask the question and then he can explain.
Yeah, more specifically, I was thinking maybe policing, looking at policing kind of, and a question of whether or not Black women voting conservative would be good, given that Black women are the most likely demographic of women to experience violence, for example. And my question would be, do the police protect Black women more than they harm? Sonia Massey comes to mind in recent history. And I know from my own personal research that, what's it called? There's a sort of implicit bias that the police have. So while I'm trying to attempt to be understanding for people who want protection in the space where we talk about protection for Black women, usually intraracially, so from Black men, but does the protection the police offer, is it sufficient, and is it worth everything else that you're voting for with conservatism?
All right, I appreciate that. And so because I didn't want to take up too much time, oh, sorry, Orange Bill. I don't know why you did. Because I didn't want to take up too much time. I wanted to conclude. While I didn't write my thesis at all on glass, I'm such an idiot. I was like, Glass-Steagall. I did watch the kind of presentation of students in economics, macroeconomics, who did their masters, and a lot of them focus on the 2008 crash. And I didn't want to bring this up first because I don't do got you, but because Jaren called me out, I now have to revert back to this. Do you know the large hedge fund that collapsed in 2007?
Bear Stearns?
Nope. It's fine. I'm not asking. I'm kind of stepping away from this. The conclusion ultimately was that even when Obama came out and blamed Glass-Steagall repeal, the question about whether or not the rules in the law would have prevented the kinds of, let's just call them lending generally, and investment. Let's do investment rather than lending. Whether or not the law there could have, and the exceptions in there, which we would have to go through part by part, would not actually exclude the kinds of engagement that banks were engaging in. Separately, I'm thinking, was it 1933 or 4 when it was enacted in the 1930s, early 1930s, right? All the way through, the Republicans chipped away at this rule, right? So to the extent that you're saying Glass-Steagall is important, the truth of, someone said 1933. Thank you. My bad. I appreciate that. They didn't like this, right? And Elizabeth Warren, I forgot which Republican, is trying to bring it back. And the question is whether or not it's useful. I am not doing this to say, oh, I know. I realize how it looks when I'm like, no, because what it felt like is I asked a question, and instead of you answering the question, you reframed it and pushed it back at me. And I'm explaining to the chat why I didn't answer right away. I didn't answer right away because I thought you were deflecting. And I was trying. No, Elizabeth isn't Republican. Elizabeth Warren and a Republican, a separate person that I forgot their name, were working together on this. it felt like you were trying to get me to talk, and so you didn't have to. I'm not attacking you. I'm explaining to the chat why I wasn't like, oh my God, this is what it is. This is when it was enacted, and this is what it did. And these are the exceptions which made Obama wrong, and a lot of politicians wrong in who they blamed and what rather they blamed for the market crash. So it's not an attack on you. I'm just initially was going to be, but separately I needed to explain to the chat why I did something that I tell people not to do, just answer the question. I didn't do that because I asked the question first, and it felt like you deflected by asking me a question as opposed to answering mine. Sorry. Themis, can you ask this bands on the panel if they have read Project 2025 or either party policy? Have anyone read Project 2025? I know in our preliminary meeting, I said we weren't going to talk about it, so they didn't have to read it.
I read through it. I didn't read all 1,000 pages, but I bounced around.
Yeah.
Nope.
No. I mean, it's a lot. The problem is, if you get a chance, look at the deportation rules, like the policies for deportation that they're trying to enact. Because that, to me, that is so scary. I don't know why that is the most like the bringing back. I think we all understand the women's right, and like the idea that no fault divorce is even up for debate is wild. Like the idea that like anyone would attempt to ban no-fault divorce or make it harder to get a divorce, I think is weird. But I'm gonna leave that there. The deportation thing is also a problem. Nationalizing the prevention of abortion is also taught. Like I think if you have a chance, if you don't have Kyle, oh my God, I forgot his last name. He has a breakdown of it that I think is really good. Note that it is left-leaning. But
Kyle Kalinske, is that you talking about?
Yes.
Okay,
He has a breakdown if you don't want to read all the thing, but yeah, it's like 900 over 900.
I think people should read it. It's, in my opinion, it's bog standard, like Republican, going back to like Reagan, same stuff they always say.
No, building.
Get rid of Department of Education. Same old.
Yeah, that's what he's when.
No, I
when
don't.
Reagan
I don't
won,
agree with this. I don't
when Reagan
agree.
won, the Heritage Foundation put that out then too. It's like,
yeah, but the idea that you're going to build what is essentially a concentration camp to deport, I think it was 5 million people. Ignore my number. It's in the millions. I think it was 5 million. I think is very troubling. If you're going to deport, I'm not saying I'm pro deportation, but if you're going to deport,
the thing
that building camps is weird. Like
the Heritage Foundation is like a shell of what the power and influence it used to have. I don't even know how. Like we think, I don't know. Like Heritage Foundation says this, therefore, it's gonna happen. Like,
well, no, it's not. Therefore, it's going to happen. It's the fact that ex-members of Trump administration actually worked on it. The president and Trump were found on his plane talking about it. There are videos of Trump praising this and then coming out and denying that he knows what it is. And if you're saying it's standard, then saying that, oh, they say it's going to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen is weird. To be fair, I do believe that it is important that the Democrat as a merely just political, I'm not talking about real or not real, whatever, as a political weapon, using it as the boogeyman is beautifully done.
yeah, I mean, it is good because no one's like read through it, and like, so you can say anything.
Period.
You can be like, no fault divorce. You pull it up, Control F divorce. It's not in there. It's like.
Well, Jaron, do you think it's more? Jaron, do you think it's mostly so you think without reading it, you think it's actually generally half and half positive things, or like just vaguely looking through it?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't. I think it's
Regardless.
just standard Republican stuff going back to like Bush and Reagan, which doesn't exist anymore. So it's weird that it's being like as if it's a thing. I don't think
it is a thing.
They have their peak was Reagan. They've been falling off. The Heritage Foundation has been falling off a cliff ever since of influence. So I don't think so.
I don't know about all that.
Definitely
feel more empowered.
It's true.
This, by the way, is where we have to end. That was the last question. I'm trying to do a men's panel every month. The topics will differ. This was a broad topic on what was this on politics generally.
Yeah.
So when we come back, we'll have a different discussion, hopefully with more disagreement. I took it easy because Jaren has been the only one dissenting voice. So
And to another, oh, sorry, but someone had just said, and JD Vance wrote the forward for it. You download 2025, Control F, JD, Control F Vance. Not there. He's not in there.
Oh, I don't know that as a fact. I
Just
mean,
read
he
it.
could have.
Just read
Knowing
it,
him,
yeah.
he could have.
Yeah,
I didn't see that. I can't. No, I didn't see that. So, all right. Well, thank you all so much. This was a pleasure. I will see you guys next month to the extent that you all want to be there. Is there anything y'all need to shout out? No. All right. Thank you. Petty has a channel, Jamal. Petty has a channel, Prince Petty. Jamal has a channel, The Beneficial. I think you changed your name. It's not The Beneficial Black Man anymore. What is it? I forgot.
The Beneficial Blurred.
Oh, that's why I can't remember it. What does blurred mean?
Black nerd.
Oh, I should have known. I should have known. I feel like that was so obvious, and I'm just, whatever. Thank you. Orange Pill has a channel, I think.
I think I just need to delete it. I don't know.
Jaren, channel is here. He does not show up anymore, and Wes will be here more often. So, thank you all. I appreciate it. And the next time, Jaren, please come in good faith. I feel like a lot of the times you don't engage in good faith, but it might be that you're being attacked.
I think it's just because I don't agree with you.
Nope. No, I think you're dismissive. I think when example, I think it's good to show example. When Wes comes up and says, "Oh, pronounce the name Kamala properly," and you're like, "I don't care." And then you go back and forth and like, "Oh, I made a mistake." And you know that he wasn't talking about you making the mistake, but rather your response to the correction was, "We don't care." I think that's dismissive. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying that way of engaging feels very dismissive, and I'm trying to be more graceful and kind and open to the men's, so men feel more welcome. And I don't know, I'm trying to correct in the most gentlest, kindest, I did say most gentlest way possible.
Well, just know I'm doing the work. I've already written 20, 30 letters to Kamala apologizing, and
well, you need to write one and read it next time.
Dang
I
it.
appreciate it. Anyway, again, thank you all. I do actually appreciate it. And I know it was supposed to be 2 hours and we went to 3 hours and 42 minutes. So again, thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you. Thanks for this.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, later.
All right, bye.
Take care.